The Toronto Raptors hosted the Portland Trailblazers, the winless Portland Trailblazers, the 0-3 Portland Trailblazers, who are a mess in themselves. They're a mess defensively. They're a mess offensively. They are probably, if not definitely, one of the 2 to 3 worst teams in the NBA. And nothing that I saw tonight from them changes my perspective on that. This was not expected. You are on the precipice of facing off on a back-to-back against 2 very tough teams this week. It's hard to say in the first week of the season that you're already facing a must-win situation, but tonight was about as must-win as it gets. And from the opening jump, it was terrible. A lot of things to say. I will save what I have to say, hopefully for some comments and some conversations. There are already a couple of callers lined up. So if you would like to call in, the link is in the description. We will talk about this game. We will hear from Darko Rajakovic. We will hear from Scotty Barnes. We'll talk about what went wrong, what's fixable, what's not fixable. Does this team need a players-only meeting? Who needs to initiate it? Who needs to get talked to? We'll talk about it. I promised yesterday that I was going to try to be positive and not be super reactionary. It's pretty hard right now, but I'm promising that I'm going to do my best to do that. Okay, let's skip the intro. Please hit like, subscribe if you haven't already. Yes, all that good stuff. I almost want you to dislike this video right now, just so, you know, based on what I just saw. This is one of the ugliest games I think I've ever seen in my life. If you were one of the fans who actually went to see this game, honestly, I hope you get your money back. I really do. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be snippy. I'm just saying this was not good basketball on either side. There were some high moments. There was, that third quarter burst from Scotty Barnes in spite of, his wrist taped up and maybe that was bothering him on his shot. But the Raptors shot abysmally poorly from 3. It's not just the shot making. I'm going to talk about what I really think is happening with this offense. I was supposed to do a film breakdown earlier today, and then I got a very, very interesting email at 4 a.m. and I read it and I was like, okay, I need to stop. I need to stop and I need to think about what I'm doing right now, because last year I spoke out of turn. I spoke before I knew the facts and I was guessing at things. And just because I was right about a lot of things last year doesn't mean that my timing was right. And it doesn't mean that it was proper. And this year I'm going to be a lot more strategic, because it seems like everybody else seems to write a book on strategy that I haven't. So speaking off the cuff and speaking out of turn and sometimes just speaking my mind can get me in a little bit of trouble. So let me be patient. Let me say what is necessary when it is necessary. But this was not a good game. This is purely self-inflicted. You want my honest opinion? Every single loss this year has been self-inflicted except for the Philadelphia one. Every single one. The Raptors should absolutely be 3-1 right now. The fact that they are 1-3 boggles my mind. The fact that they could finish this week 1-5 should be a very scary situation for a team that does not have control over its draft pick and does not seem to. Anyways, we're going to skip the intro, as I mentioned. We're going to get to Darko Rajakovic. We're going to get to Scotty Barnes. Hopefully they are in better spirits and they can lift all of our spirits and explain to us, please, what the hell did we just watch? Okay, let's get to it.
3 minutes to go, and I think you got 4 points after that. What did you see in that stretch that you couldn't get any buckets?
We could not get buckets, and it was the theme of the night. We shot the ball from the three-point line, 4 out of 29, and our threes are not coming off the dribbling; they're coming off the pass. So every three that we would make tonight actually would go to be assist. So I thought that over the course of the game we did not have enough pace in our half-court offense. Every time when we were in transition and with open court, we were getting good looks. But every time that we become a half-court team, our pace and our cuts and our screening, that has to be much faster. A lot of times we enter in our offense very deep in the shot clock with 14 seconds left on the shot clock. And that's something that we got to address and get better at that.
You've been preaching that, sort of move the ball, get off the ball real quickly in half court. the message is not getting through, or is it just not in practice? They're not putting it in practice?
I mean, we're moving the ball, but like one thing is to move the ball around 3-point line. The other thing is to be aggressive on the catch, that you can touch the paint, so defense is going to collapse, and then move the ball to find open man. In those situations when we actually did, I thought that we were actually moving the ball and finding enough men. I don't think that we did enough of downhill attacks to touch the paint.
Defensive rebounding has been an issue whenever Yak has gone to the bench. What do you guys need to make sure that you're doing to control the boards in those situations?
It's been a problem for us, and we need everybody to participate. We cannot rely on just a matchup guy to be there. We played Chris Boucher tonight. We don't have Precious Achiuwa at the moment. That's a big body that cleans the glass a lot for us, and it has to come to the whole team. We cannot be thinking transition and running and whatnot before we secure the rebound. And guards, they gotta come in and then box out as well. Everybody's gotta be in that.
Almost 3 times as many shots for Siakam tonight versus Saturday. What did you think of his play?
I thought that he came in with the right mindset. He was aggressive from the start. His defense was on a high level, especially start of the game. We were able to get stops and deflections and steals and to get out and run in transition.
When Brady was a great shooter on Saturday's game, today we saw more so putting the ball on the floor, attacking the top foot. What did you make about seeing more of him with a live dribble?
No, they were guarding him a little bit different tonight. They were really trying to chase him off the line. He did not force shots. When they chased him off the line, he was trying to make the right play. He was touching the paint. He found a couple of really good passes to his teammates, and he's continued to work on that. He's aware that he cannot just rely on his three-point shooting, because once they chase him off the line, he's got to be able to play make from there.
Defensively, is anything sticking out about Grady?
Defensively, I thought that he had a couple of foul calls that, for me, they were a little bit questionable. Did he beat a player to the spot or not? I thought that he was really trying. As game was progressing, every game he's learning, the speed of the game and the league so much. So with every game, he's getting better.
The schedule coming up is really tough, both in terms of the sheer number of games and the level of competition. Do games like this, Friday in Chicago, do they feel like a missed opportunity, or is it too early in the season to look at individual games like that?
I mean, it is a missed opportunity. I thought that we had multiple opportunities against Chicago to close that game, and a game tonight. We had hopes to be able to finish this game and to win this game. Didn't go our way.
Obviously, this isn't the start you wanted. What's kind of the message to the team at this point, trying to get things flowing, things right?
That individual problems cannot be bigger than team. We just talked about it in a locker room. I told guys, like, we gotta be a team. We gotta think about what I need to do for my team to win. It's not if I'm not making shots tonight, what else can I do? Can I rebound? Like, can I cut for my teammates? Can I set better screens? Can I run more? Can I get defensive stops? There are a lot of things that are in the control, even when the shot is not going down, and that can help the team. We gotta stay together.
Sorry, are you seeing that there's some individualness that's going ahead of the team right now?
No, not necessarily. It's just like it might be just like with the opponent player, like taking that one-on-one. Is he scoring on me? Am I scoring on him? But it really comes down like it's Portland versus Raptors, And at the end of the day, what really is the only thing that's important is winning or losing games. We gotta find a way to close those games.
Do you feel like there's any difference, or what's weighing more heavily on this team in terms of being an issue, maybe? I hesitate to say the word issue, but is it decision making or is it execution?
I think it's early in the season. I think if we made a couple of more threes tonight, I think that we did some good stuff. We were probably feeling and thinking a little bit different. But it's a work in progress, and we need better execution, and we need better pace, and we need better spacing. We have a lot of room for growth.
As
coming into this game, the team has led the NBA in passes per game, and the offensive numbers haven't been so good. It seems like .5 basketball is to establish advantages after the initial action. Have you been surprised at the lack of effectiveness in your guys' primary actions to start on half-court plays?
Yes and no.
He's been fishing for this. I'm sorry, this question is really starting to piss me off. Every fucking game, every game. It's tell me I was right. Tell me I was right.
There is definitely things that we need to clean up and get better at. Angles of screens, where we're catching the ball. All the times we're catching the ball quite far out, and we need to do a better job of every time catching the ball in effective zones. And I thought that we had a couple of really good pick and roll actions that, we fumbled the ball, missed the layups. Like those are the things that we can improve on and get better at. Thank you.
Okay, I want to say something. I'm debating. I'm holding my tongue. Let me try to keep it. Let me try to keep it a buck. Okay. Fuck, how do I say this? Okay, let me pull them off. Hold on. Y'all play basketball before? Anyone here play basketball before? You ever play with a teammate who just refuses to set a fucking pick for you? Have you seen it? I've seen it. And you're not open. And you can't make a shot. You ever play with a teammate who really hates your guts and just keeps throwing the ball at your knees? This is not .5 basketball. Yo, honestly, man, I have my issues with his lineups, with his synergy. But please understand, this is not his fault. He can't move these people for them. All he can do is coach the players that are put in front of him. And this is not a high school basketball team. This is not rec league. He can't just bench everybody without tanking their trade value. Players have a responsibility. Coaches have a responsibility. Coaches have to come up with a game plan that works and synergizes the roster. They have to make in-game adjustments when things that they planned are not working. That is the responsibility of the coach. The coach must prepare a game plan for the team that they are facing. That is on the assistant coaches. That is on the coaching staff. I do not know enough about this coaching staff beyond Jama and Darko, who I have extensively researched. They understand basketball, and I promise you, as God is my witness, they have the exact right idea for this roster and how they should be playing. So what the fuck is happening? Well, I think he's putting it very politely, because Darko Rajakovic, look, man, I just want to say this from the heart. What he's done to get to this point is super duper hard. The grind, the stories that I've heard, like he had a meeting in Serbia. Look, we come from a very poor country. I don't mean to throw my own country under the bus. We come from a very poor country. There's not a lot of economic opportunity. You sometimes have to leave the country in order to find that economic opportunity. I remember a story where he described, meeting up with a particular head coach who he knew of and wanting to go to this restaurant, and knowing that going to this restaurant and simply paying to be at that restaurant would put a financial burden on his entire family, and that he had to do it because it was such an important opportunity. This is a person who has clawed his ass through G League. And if I was in that locker room, I would be smashing something saying, we got to play harder for this guy. We got to play harder. This is effort. It's not game plan. Not boxing out is not game plan. I've never met a coach who ever told his players not to box out. I never met a coach who asked his players to throw passes at people's knees. This is ridiculous. This is a team that is not playing together. And look, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not doing what I did last year where I'm like, it's this guy, go do a witch hunt. It doesn't matter who it is. We'll address it if it needs addressing in a couple of weeks, but it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, this is not a team that is playing together. I just want that to be clear. This is not what they diagrammed. These are not the plays that they diagrammed. You literally see a guy who is begging a player to cut because the play is to cut, and he's just not responding. And then he cuts, but he cuts late. Do you know what happens when you cut late or you cut slowly? It generates no advantage. Do you know what happens when you throw a pass off target at the end of a sequence of passes? It generates no advantage. Your offense will never work if players do not buy in. The thing about .5 offense, if one guy refuses to do it, the whole thing falls apart. Y'all know I'm not the only person in the world who read Aesop's fables, right? United we stand, divided we fall. This is a divided team. They need to talk about it. The coaching staff, look, I don't know enough about Darko Rajakovic's personality management on the NBA level. This is a completely different ball game. Being an assistant coach to go into a head coach, suddenly you are the person who's deciding who's playing, who's not playing, when they're going in. It's totally different than being an assistant coach. I'm not sitting here advocating for him. I don't know him. I know 50 people who know him. If I needed to get something to him, I probably could right now. But that doesn't mean that I know how he's built for this. Maybe, we find out next year he's not. But I know the brain on this guy. I have seen teams that he has run. I have talked to people who have worked with him, who have talked basketball deeply with him. There is no way in hell he would design an offense that looks this bad. And this is not shooting variance. This is not shooting luck. This team has looked bad, whether they're shooting 13% from the three-point line or 53% from the three-point line. It has never looked good. And I am tired of just pretending that this is a new offense being wrinkled in, because it has looked worse and worse and worse. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. There are elements of it that are getting worse. Yeah, it's one guy underperforms, another guy underperforms. And yeah, sure. Scotty was going on a run in the third, and suddenly his shot just left him. He couldn't make a three. He was missing bunnies around the rim. He got blocked a couple times. And okay, if he does his usual fourth quarter heroics, maybe you escape this game. But maybe it's okay to lose this one. Maybe it's okay to lose this one because losing to a team like this is exactly what forces conversation. And I have felt for the last week and a half that something needs to fall. Something needs to fall. A trade, maybe. Okay. A conversation, a blow up. Does someone need to punch somebody? Something needs to happen, because this cannot continue. You lost to the Portland Trailblazers tonight. You will lose to the Boston Celtics by 50 points if you play like this. This is a very immature loss by one of the 10 oldest teams in the NBA. You have no excuses. You have Grady Dick and Scotty Barnes, who, in my opinion, were your best players tonight. Don't look at the box score. I'm talking straight up. What were they doing? They had some of the best plays. They had some of the fewest mistakes. Scotty had that stupid pass to no one, where Jakob Poeltl goes the other way, and he's like, what the hell are you doing? And there's confusion. There was loads of confusion on defense between Schroeder and Siakam. There's loads of confusion on whose man is tagging who. I mean, shit, I clowned DeAndre Ayton so hard for calling himself dominating. Well, he dominated us tonight. Great. You have, this is, maybe that hurts even more than this loss. I have to watch DeAndre Ayton have a great game against us. Let me know in the comments if I'm being too hard. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's just one game, Rob. It's not that you lost. It's that the other team played horribly on your home court, and they're already a bad team, and you lost. It's terrible. Okay, let's go to Scotty Barnes, and then we'll get to some callers.
Execute a little bit better in the half court.
We just got to keep just trusting our shot. We feel like we can make these shots that we're taking. So we gonna continue to trust our shooting. It's really the main thing. We went 4 for 29 from three. That's a terrible shooting night for us. And we just feel like we can keep getting those open looks where we can make those shots. Other than that, we just got to stay on the same page with our cutting and get into our right spots and just getting our offense to being able to where we can move the ball.
Defensive rebounding has been an issue, especially with Yak on the bench and towards the end of the game there as well. What do you guys have to do in those situations to make sure that you control the boards?
You just got to take some pride in boxing out our man.
Thank you.
We just turn around and look at the ball go up after the shot goes up. We just got to take pride in rebounding the ball and win those one-on-one one-on-one matchups when our man's crashing, and we just got to take accountability for it.
You mentioned trusting the shots. In the game against Philadelphia, you guys shot 53% from 3. How do you deal with the disparity on, like, you guys missed shots tonight outside, but
it's called
you missed
shooting
shots
variance,
from
Samson.
basically
It's called
everywhere
shooting
all over the board
variance.
to start this season. How do you start to create, I guess, better process for better shooting everywhere on the floor?
The threes, you know, we take pride in trying to get those shots and being able to just try to consistently knock them down. We got a lot of guys that can finish at the rim. Myself, just got to keep trusting it. We feel like we can make all these shots that we're taking, and we feel like we can do a better job. Shots didn't go down today, but we just got to take pride on the defensive end. That was just really the main thing, that we're going down scoring. Even when we were getting stops, they just got offense rebounds, put back layups, and kick out threes. So it was just, even though we're not making shots, we can't let that affect us on the defensive end.
With a tough back-to-back coming up, and upcoming schedule is pretty tough as well, does a game like this feel like a missed opportunity, or is it too early in the season to be looking at individual games like that?
We want to go out there and win every game. This was a loss that we really feel like we should have had, but just got to move on to the next game and try to get that one. On this one, you know, I feel like we should have won this one for sure.
All right. Okay. We have a lot of callers. You know who else I really feel bad for? Surprise, surprise. I feel bad for him. Feels like at times he just looks around and he's like, okay, I just have to guard 5 people on defense and take on 5 guys on offense because no one's doing shit. And I'm not saying that as shade. Please understand that I like a lot of other players on this team. But he needs like his better teammates to do something right now. And they're not. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. Like I'm not saying he had a perfect game. He's not perfect. He's made mistakes. Yes, he's had turnovers late. Yes, I think he would be the first person to tell you that. But yo, you cannot question this guy has tried to win all 4 of these games. Last year, the media came out and they said that the issue was one thing. And I got to tell you, I was talking about it on Twitter Spaces yesterday. I got really sick and tired of hearing about the one issue and not hearing about the other issue. So I started making videos about the other issue. Maybe it was a little bit controversial. I did it so that the players could see what they were not seeing in film sessions. Don't make me do a fucking video of like 50 times that you've refused to box out he who shall not be named player I'm not naming right now. Because yesterday when I was doing the film session, I had honestly, I didn't see it in real time. Maybe I'm not as good at seeing the game as I thought. I thought it was bad. I didn't realize it was this bad when I slowed the game down. Yo, by the end of last night, I was up until 7:30 in the morning, and I'm like, this video is not going out. And I wrote a post. My jaw was on the floor with what I had seen. This is not being reported, is not being taught, and it should be, because this is, you know what? Your coach wasn't lying to you. Your high school coach wasn't lying to you. Your rec league coach wasn't lying to you. Rebounding is a hustle thing. You just have to have pride. You cannot let guys just walk into the paint and grab offensive rebounds. It's been an issue every single game. Every single game. So, okay. Let's bring on some callers. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring on 3. And then I'm going to bring on 3. Okay. So I'm going to go with Raptor Truth Teller, Florian, Jesse. We're going to try to keep it short because we have a lot of people who probably want to talk. There's 500 of you almost in here. So let's try to keep it short. I'll try to talk less, let you talk more. All right. So Raptor Truth Teller, Florian, Jesse, welcome back. How you doing? If anyone's got a really noisy background, if you can keep yourself on mute when you're not talking, that would be appreciated. There's some buzzing going on somewhere. Okay, that would be Florian. Yeah. Nope, it's not Florian. It is Raptor Truth Teller. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Raptor Truth Teller, you want to say what you got to say? Because you got some sort of fan or industrial. Are you close to a factory?
No, man. Nah, that's just like the heater. But yeah, yeah, man. It was an interesting game. Of course, we blew that one, so now we're what 1-3. Um, Obviously, people are saying that it's time to tank and it's time to trade, but who knows if Masai is even going to do that because you've seen him always hold off trades for so long. So this might just be another year where we just keep on, we pretty much keep trying to make the playoffs, but we don't. And yeah,
I don't think so. I disagree. All
really,
right. Yeah, I do. I think he's had enough of this bullshit. Um.
I got to see it to believe it, man. Because
Oh,
he's
but
always, yeah, I got to
I
see it to believe it, man.
I know he's
Messiah,
I know he's kind, and I know he's not perfect, and he's made mistakes. But
yeah,
do not test this man. Do not test this man. He is like he is. I don't want to say shrewd. He's got a big heart, but you do
yeah,
not become who he has become by being soft and indecisive. And I know that it's like some sort of narrative around Raptorland of like evaluating, whatever. It's actually like he just really has a good idea of what he wants to do. And yes, I'll agree. Roster moves have not been great. Asset management has not been great. Don't wipe away 10 years. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Still the same guy. And I have faith that if this shit continues for another week, I was joking with my friend at halftime. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if two of these dudes get traded at halftime. He's not gonna sit there and watch this. I don't think you cannot come out this boldly in the preseason.
yeah,
Like he didn't say, "Oh, we're gonna have learning curves, and sometimes we might be selfish, and sometimes." He didn't do that. He said, "No, we are not going to be selfish. We're gonna play this new brand of basketball." And he has hired this coach after 3 weeks, 3 months. Like it was a long period of time,
like a
and
month.
you better believe that this is a president who makes he sticks by his coaches. Stuck by Dwayne Casey through numerous meltdowns, stuck by Nick Nurse through a couple of really, really bad stretches as well. Okay. And so he has not hired this guy to fire this guy. Okay. Not a chance.
Definitely not.
There are players who literally he will pack their bags and he will send them to Pearson Airport himself. He will drive them and kick their ass onto the plane. Yo, I'm telling you, man, like he has been very direct. I have never seen Masai this way. Not in Denver, not here. He is fucking pissed. And I can feel it. Like I don't know him. I met him one time before he became general manager. I met him once. He strikes you as a person who really means business right now. I don't think he's gonna watch someone do this because it's making him look bad, right? That's a pride thing. These guys who are not boxing out right now, they may not have pride. You know who has pride? Masai Ujiri has pride. Yeah.
Quick question though.
What up?
So if Masai does make that trade, like if he's okay, so let's say he gets serious and he's like, okay, enough is enough. I got to trade Siakam. I got to trade somebody.
Bro, he just threw his entire coaching staff out. You don't think he's serious?
Right, but ultimately, it's about the team, though, the roster at hand, bro. And you gotta trade. You gotta trade.
It's about your foundation. It's about your foundation. It's about your philosophy. It's about your core pieces, and it's about your coaching staff. I promise you that what we built under Dwayne Casey does not get built without Jama, without Dwayne, without Patrick Mutombo, without Masai, without all the people. Jeff Weltman, please understand that there's a front-facing side to the organization. There's a back-facing side to the organization, and the back-facing side just got a complete overhaul. Not a complete overhaul. Some people would want Masai and Bobby fired or whatever. Some people are calling for his head. I get it. I'm just saying, like, please understand that I don't think that he expected to have this roster right now. Okay? I think he expected to walk into this season with a different roster. And he's on this roster and he's just, I don't know. I think you know what? Like, I think people think he has more patience than he really has. Anyways, let's move off this. Sorry if I didn't quite get to your question, but I'm on my Messiah. Yeah. Jesse, what's up, man? You're muted, bro. I don't know why you're muted. It says your mic's on, but I'm not hearing you. There you go.
There you go.
But now I'm hearing myself. Shoot. I can't read your lips, bro. Shit. I'm so sorry.
I'll just unplug the mic. So what that last caller was talking about right there, what reminds me of is 2013 when he had enough. And he was like, look, we're going to either trade these players. You can choose. You get to choose. He talked to the team. He told them, you get to choose whether you want to be here or not. And some players chose to stay. Some players chose to leave. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is talk more about how Grady Dick reminds me, not in terms of skill, but in terms of effort and mentality, of Amir Johnson. That type of player that will never quit, that will always hustle, that will do everything they can, and that loves basketball. And I know I brought up like the high IQ stuff. Let's forget about that. At this point right now, what we need is players who love to play basketball, who love to play with their teammates, and who want to succeed and win together. And there's a couple of players on this team that definitely want to do that. And there's a couple players on this team that just couldn't give two shits about trying to win right now, trying to be the best teammate they can be for their other teammates, and to play a brand of basketball, a type of basketball that their coach wants them to play. I don't think it's fair to say that, the coaching staff that we have right now isn't doing their best. They have. They had a whole offseason. They flew around to multiple countries to do one-on-ones with these players, to teach them as much as they could before training camp. And for what? How do you feel as a coach to see that effort go to waste? How do you feel as an organization to see that effort go to waste? I really feel
to understand. Please unmute yourself, please. I can hear myself, if you don't mind. As someone who understands basketball as well as Darko Rajakovic does, to watch what is happening on the basketball court is so transparent, and it must be so disheartening to have this, because the guys in Memphis, they love him. Like, they loved him. Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, these guys credit him for so much. And I can tell that Scotty loves him. I really can. You can tell. I felt like a lot of players would really fight hard for him, and it feels like they did in the beginning. And there was a lot of complimentary stuff, a lot of stuff about good vibes. Well, you know what? Now here comes the test, right? Pascal Siakam said it. He said everyone's happy, good vibes until you start losing, right? And now you see, okay, well, things were good vibes with Nick Nurse in 2022 when they were winning and going to the playoffs. Didn't hear a peep. It's only last year when you fell 4 or 5 games under 500 that suddenly a lot of the stuff came out to the surface, and suddenly you started seeing more and more body language problems. Who are you when you're losing is very important, and also a very, very good thing for the Raptors to see, because before you commit 4 years to Gary, before you commit 5 years to Pascal, before you commit 4 years to, even O.G Anunoby or Precious Achiuwa, it would be very interesting to see them in this situation and to see how they react, because this is all data. I hate to sound like, one of those nerds who just looks at dots, but that's kind of who I was for a lot of my life, just someone who looked at figures and numbers and charts. And I have to tell you that putting people in uncomfortable situations gives you a lot of insight into who they are as people. I think you're going to get a lot of insight into who Scotty Barnes is as a leader. Does he burn hot or cold? Can he bring people together right now? Can Pascal Siakam bring people together? I think you'll get a lot of intel about who your coaching staff is too. Do they run hot and cold? Are they able to connect with people when those people are not connecting with their message? I think it's very important. Winning covers up a lot of things too. They say losing brings things out. Winning covers things up. If you are 4-0 and you have played terribly in all 4 games, but you have just, luck at the draw, shooting variance, the other team is just missing shots, other team was injured, you had a favorable schedule, whatever, then, maybe everything is just happy, but it will eventually come out. So you're facing a very, very big hurdle early. You're 1-3. There are a lot of teams that I can remember that have started out very slow and ended off very strong. The Lakers are one of those teams yesterday, last year. So it can change. This is 4 games, I don't think you're in trouble until you lose about 40 games. That's your mark. You've lost 3 of them already. You have 37 to go. Once you've lost 40 games, you are officially, like, I would say you have failed the season. Absolutely, you have failed the season. So they have 37 more losses to go. With the strength of competition, it would be very, very difficult to project over 42 wins right now. This loss swings a lot for me. It's unfortunate. Florian, what's up? Thanks for waiting.
No worries. I mean, I got a decision for you, or a choice for you. We're gonna keep harping, or because I want to talk about Grady's IQ. I loved Grady's game today. It was
me too.
It was amazing. I mean, the transition steals, the help. When there was a drive, he digs, he helps, gets the ball, pushes, and then he pushes, but then stays at the 3-point line and drags a defender with him, opens up the rim, runs to the other corner, passes it into Yak. I mean, for what should have been a made basket, I think it was free throws. The pass to Boucher, also from the 3-point line. I don't know, pocket pass, I believe. There's so many like potential assists, or pass to assists that he's making because of his shooting gravity, which I'm really starting to see it now. Like what we were told about in preseason about him, and the vision with him, because honestly, him and Scotty out there, when they're out there with a bench unit, it's not just Scotty and the bench. It's Scotty, Grady, and the bench. Because I believe.
I agree completely. I was on Twitter and I said, was it Scotty, Grady and Scotty? It has a ring to it. Man, it's funny. Raptors PR has taken a lot of L's. But one of the things that they do not get an L for is how they introduced Grady on draft night, with Scotty getting the phone call and just, saying like, when you coming? Immediately, you could tell that they had a similar understanding of the game. And when they're on the court, you can see that they actually see the game. Did you ever play basketball, Florian?
No, I'm casually. I'm a soccer player. So
you're a soccer player. Okay, perfect. It applies to soccer too.
Yeah, no.
Are you what position do you play in soccer?
Center mid. So I'm involved. I'm involved.
Okay, that's good. You ever play soccer with people who don't know how to play soccer?
Oh yeah, I mean.
It's frustrating,
all the time,
right?
Levels,
It's frustrating, right? And that's exactly it, right? Like I if you're a shooter, especially if you're a movement shooter, right? It is incredibly frustrating to play with people who don't know how to play basketball, because you're doing everything right and you never get the ball when you're supposed to get the ball, where you're supposed to get the ball. You're always out of rhythm. And then you look and you've missed all 3 of your shots, and obviously everyone's looking at you like, why are you missing? And it's just like, if I could change the 4 people on my team right now to guys who actually know how to fucking play basketball, I'd have 8 points, 10 points, 15 points right now. It is such a team game. Soccer, hockey, basketball, it all works on a string. You have one person who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. They're running into people. They're out of position. Nothing works. Actually, good evidence of this is actually my brief stint playing soccer. I can't play soccer. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I've never been good at it. I got cut from grade 6 team, grade 8 team. I'm just terrible. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's weird, right? I'm good at tennis, good at basketball. Can't play soccer. I remember my friend, he brought a basketball player once to fill in midfield for him, right? And he had good success with him. So he asked me the next week, he's like, I'd like you to come play with my team. And I was like, really? I'm not very good at soccer. He's like, yeah, but you're an athlete. You can play this. Bro, in the 7 minutes that I was on the field, I had an own goal. And it was 0-0 when I entered. It was 0-2 in the 7 minutes. I mean, there's so many players on a soccer field. How did one person being so bad impact the game so much? Because I was up a level and I was out of my depth and I fucked up. Like the entire field had to orient themselves towards my weaknesses. It feels a little bit like that. It feels like Scotty and Grady are playing basketball and I don't know what the fuck everyone else is doing. And it makes no sense because, some of these players are very smart players.
I mean, I've been there as well with you, even in my sport, which I play, where, you go up a level and it's it's a different pace. People know where they're supposed to be earlier. And when I was watching Scotty today on a couple possessions, when he's in the high post or, at the top, and he's, yelling out where people got to go. He knows where everyone's got to go, and he's, pointing this, that. And it feels like, he's the one who's playing down a level, with his teammates almost.
I
in
agree.
terms of movement.
There was one particular play where he had a favorable matchup that he wanted to attack off the dribble, and
Exactly.
Pascal was like posting up, and he just flagged him out, and he missed. And the next time it was like, pass to Pascal, and I think Pascal turned it over, threw it out of bounds, and then he complained. It was not a great game from anybody apart from Grady. Actually, when I was breaking down the tape yesterday, I was just mesmerized by Grady. Even the game where he got in for 2 minutes, even the games where he didn't score, what he's doing to compensate. It's really what it is right now is Scotty and Grady are compensation for what is everything that's going wrong. They'll rebound when they're out of area, when other people are about to give it up. They'll swipe down when a guy gets beat and it's not their man. They're grabbing defensive rebounds, tipping, passes. They're creating space where their teammates are not creating space. They're disrupting a lack of space by creating space and pulling a defender away from them. They're doing so many things right, these two players. OG was very disappointing today for me. Not something I was expecting. I've been very impressed with OG so far. Malachi was impressive today. I think he was a little bit more decisive. And, it's weird to say in a game which was so painfully bad that two of the moments where I felt good were things that Malachi did. I spent a lot of time in preseason saying that he shouldn't be in the NBA. So I feel I need to eat a bit of crow for the games that he does play well. And I'm happy for him that he did, because God knows where they would be without him. I think he led the bench in scoring today. If you want to know something.
I'm not sure. But there was one moment with Malachi. Yeah, he did lead the bench. There was one moment with Malachi where I think he got a steal, or he got someone's steal, some turnover, and he could have pushed the pace. And instead he slowed it down, and he's the last guy coming up the court. And I was like, I'm like, I got out of my chair. I'm like, what is this shit? Like, come on, like let's push it, and
you familiar with the term small doses? Small doses. let's not ask him to do everything at once. Let us just deal with the fact that he's no longer bumping into his teammates and dribbling the ball off his foot. I mean, we can deal with pace later. He's taking shots. He's making decisive decisions. He's taking bigger guys off the dribble. Even if he's not finishing at the rim, I'm more happy with his decision making overall. He's not a floor general. He's not a point guard. If they're trying to morph him into Kyle Lowry, he's not that. But what he can be is a secondary creator. He can, in theory, morph into a considerably worse version of Fred VanVleet. Is that a player you want to invest long-term developmental dollars into? Probably not. But if you've chosen to do so anyway, who the hell am I to dissuade you? Do it. And, he certainly could play a hell of a lot worse than he did tonight. So I'll give him his flowers. He played well relative to the standard that he has set for himself. Is that about as politically correct as I can possibly be on his game? But OG has not. OG did not play as well as the standard that he has set for himself. And Pascal certainly, took more shots tonight, but I don't think he played well either. And I don't think Dennis Schroeder has played a single good game all year. So that's where I'm at with these guys. It's hard to say that you missed Precious Achiuwa. I don't think he would have made a difference. You want my honest opinion? He might have grabbed a couple of rebounds, but then he would have, airballed the dunk or something. I don't even know how you airball a dunk, but I'm sure he would have found a way.
He also needs to go, man. Precious Achiuwa, in my opinion, he has been struggling a lot. And I honestly think he should be, y'all may disagree, but I think he should be, for now, a backup big. Not a backup big, but an emergency. Yeah, I meant to say emergency backup big. Are
we already in the part of the season where we need to bring out Thaddeus Young and Garrett Temple to help out Scotty Barnes and Grady Dick? Are we making that statement yet?
Well, no, but I'm saying that I'm saying that he shouldn't get minutes over other guys that deserve it over him, like Otto Porter Jr., Chris Boucher.
Yeah, I have a feeling Otto is such a pro. Like he's such a pro's pro. It doesn't really matter. He just loves to hoop. So if I think someone mentioned it today. Like you need someone to who just loves to hoop. I think Jesse said it. Otto loves to hoop. People might not believe that, but he just loves to hoop. You don't fight back from this many injuries if you don't love to hoop. And I think he would make a difference for sure. And I had heard that by game 5 they would consider loosening up the restrictions on him, and hopefully that has remained true and that he has not had setbacks. Any final thoughts, guys?
That's good.
Yeah, I want to talk about Scotty a bit. Just quickly say that I like the fact that you mentioned that it was really only Grady who had a good game today, because I saw a couple just slip ups with Scotty, like mental lapses on the defensive side of the ball mainly, where on ball he looked great, and then there's 2 seconds where boom, something goes wrong.
Yep.
Off ball he was caught lacking a couple times, whether it was cheating off his man, or someone made a cut, or he wasn't there for the closeout, and I don't really know why that is. I felt like I kind of noticed it more this season compared to last season. Maybe it's just a wrong impression, but maybe it's the fact that Darko is stamping this mindset of go into him, like this speed mindset over maybe accuracy.
He's been incredible defensively prior to this game. I do. I think his rotations have been incredible. The film that I broke down.
Game one was great.
I mean, game 1 you got rewarded with the blocks, but there's so many things that he's doing defensively in terms of, and I mean, like, I reject this notion that he's just a hangback big right now on defense. He's also doing a lot of point of attack stuff. He's just not doing it as much as he was doing last year. Like last year, he was like guarding point guards almost exclusively or guards almost exclusively, whereas now it's like on occasion, just to throw a different look at a guard, you'll put him out there, and he's very assertive. And he's very disruptive, and usually it results in a miss. So that's what I was noticing in the tape yesterday, is that he's disrupting a lot of things. I think in the first minute of tonight's game, he got his hands on one thing. He wasn't credited for a steal. Then he dug down, got another steal, got a fast break. I think he showed up with the right energy. I didn't love his burst tonight. There was like a lack of speed to what he was doing. Every move that he made was slow tonight. And that included on defense. He tried to push the pace a couple times. He got it going in the third, and then it just sort of fizzled out again. He was second guessing himself more than I would have liked to. He was kind of like deferring to Pascal. Maybe there was a point made in the in the meeting before the game of like, oh, we can't have our franchise guy having 8 shots. Personally, I don't give a shit if he has 8 shots, 15 shots, 25 shots. I just want them to be good shots. I don't care who takes shots. Call me weird, but I just want good shots. And yeah, like Pascal Siakam took a lot of good shots today, and he passed up some good shots, and he took a lot of terrible shots too. It's not selfishness, it's just indecisiveness. When he doesn't have the ball, I would love for someone who has the time to go and look at tonight's game, slow it down, and watch when he doesn't have the basketball. What is he doing to help his team? It's important. Grady does so much to help his team when he doesn't have the basketball, because that's high basketball IQ. Like, shit, man, I'm not an NBA player. I'm not a pro player. I didn't play Division I basketball, but even I know that when I don't have the basketball, I have a responsibility to help somebody get the basketball in a favorable position. This is like basketball 101. I feel like they teach this shit in high school. You're doing things. You're not just standing there, because you obviously do not have gravity, and you're not just standing there pounding your, resting on offense. That's what we saw last year. These guys are falling into old habits. It's going to be hard to break these habits. I'm willing to give it a little bit more time before I sound the alarm, but today was very alarming. Anyways, Jesse, any final thoughts?
Yeah, Rob, just one final thought here. We were talking a lot about Grady Dick so far, and we should talk about him more. And you said you were studying the tape the other day. One of the things that I always look for, and I know this is maybe a little bit hokey, but I think body language is very important. I think body language on the bench is important. And I think what you're doing while you're sitting on the bench is important. What I've been watching Grady Dick do on the bench is his head is always up. whatever he is on the floor, his head is always up. He's always looking. He's always learning. And one of the things that I watched particularly today is who is he looking at? And he's not looking at Pascal when he's on the floor. He's looking at Scotty Barnes. He's looking at where Scotty is. He's looking at where Scotty likes to throw the ball, where he likes to put the ball for other players. And when he got into the game and he checked in with Scotty on the floor, he moved those spots. And at one point, we actually saw him follow Scotty as Scotty went for a rebound, and he was right behind him. As in, he was thinking about it. He was thinking, where would Scotty be? And he was there.
There's a thing about knowing how to play basketball, as I'm sure Florian would attest, that there's a thing about knowing how to play soccer. When you see somebody else who also knows how to play, you register it pretty quickly. And in the NBA, I guess, you have to stay quiet because you're young. But hey, if you told me the situation was inverted, that my 22-year-old former rookie of the year, and our current draft pick, who we spent a lottery pick on, they were the ones who were confused about what to do, and it was our 37-year-old veterans who knew what to do, then I would be quite depressed right now. I'm actually quite encouraged that our young players know what they're doing in this offense. It's actually not that hard an offense. It's not that difficult. It's read and react. I'm learning today, probably for the first time in my life, that there are NBA players who don't get this. This is shocking to me. Like, I've only ever talked to people who knew this shit intuitively. I mean, how many levels of basketball have you played? Every one of these plays. This is not complicated. I was talking to a Division I player earlier this offseason, and we were talking about Darko's philosophy. We were talking about the exchange rate of pace and turnovers, and we were just chit-chatting it up, just basketball philosophy, as I like to do sometimes. If I dropped that player, who plays for a Division I program right into this team, he would not be making these mistakes. He's not some genius. I don't even think he starts on his team, but he understands basketball. I thought this was common knowledge. I understand. I'm sure Samson understands. How is it that there are players who are like not moving to the open spot on the court that is so clearly there, right? I mean, this is not quite as. This is not like I remember my mom didn't understand basketball. So when we would watch basketball, she would just complain that people are not making shots, and that was very frustrating for me to listen to as someone who was playing basketball at the time. She would just be like, why can't we have someone who makes shots like that? That was her entire complaint. Whenever somebody else would hit 2-3 shots, she's like, why can't we have someone like that? And that's to the extent that she understood basketball. And I feel like that's pretty much the extent that a lot of fans understand basketball. But I feel like if you've played basketball, you understand that what you're watching on the court cannot possibly be by design. Nobody would design an offense that's this stupid and this ineffective. You have to play with pace. You have to, and he's mentioned it. I mean, I credit Darko Rajakovic for not losing his cool, like with the reporters right now. But what he's saying is 100% true. Sometimes I caught Nick Nurse kind of lying last year, where it was like, that's not true. He's not lying. When he says we need to play faster and we need to play with more intention and we need to cut, he is not lying. Like, this is 100% the only way this thing can work. But they're not doing it. Anyways, thank you all for calling in. Let us get to Jonathan, Richard, and Vince. And if anyone else is on the queue, thank you so much for calling in, guys.
Thank you, Rob.
Cheers, man. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for your patience. Jonathan, how are you? Love the picture. That's so funny.
Yo.
How you doing?
I'm really good, man.
How you doing? Okay, Richard, how are you?
Good.
All right. And we got Vince. Vince,
What up?
buddy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing?
I'm happy you're here. Tell us a joke. Tell us something to make us feel better. What's going on?
I'll tell you a joke.
Okay.
I was both at the game and didn't watch the game tonight because I had my kid with me who's 2.5 years old, and his main focus tonight was trying to spot the Raptor on the court whenever or beside the court. That was his main objective in this game. So that means that was my main objective in this game, was to try to spot the Raptor. And he was dressed, he had on a pink suit and a blonde wig. So he was dressed up like Ken from the Barbie movie. pretty dope experience for my kid.
Sounds like
tell
a
you
good
that.
dad.
Yeah.
I don't
that-
like to toot my own horn or anything, but
No, that's good dadding, man. Seriously, props. I'm a good dad. I know what a good dad looks like.
oh, nice. I mean, I watched some of the game. It doesn't even matter, man. These games don't matter. It's like this lineup is ridiculous. You know, you're playing Boucher, you're playing Flynn, you're playing Gary Trent.
Okay, that's pretty funny. So you did tell the joke. That's your joke.
Yeah,
That's the joke. You told the joke. And the joke is these games don't fucking matter because look at these lineups. Boucher and Flynn. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, we're playing Boucher and Flynn. Look at the guys who dominated those guys. Chumani Kamara, who was, a decent prospect, whatever. Jabari Walker.
You're being very generous. You're being very generous with that
I don't know shit about Chumani Kamara. I knew they got him, but from Phoenix in the trade with Ayton. That's it.
Oh my god.
And these guys are Skylar Mays. I heard the name Skylar Mays. I was like, what? Who? These guys are kicking the crap out of Malachi Flynn.
Did you
Gary
enjoy?
Trent.
Okay.
Sorry.
Did you enjoy the love the guys in the sidelines? The triumphant return of Moses Brown, Raptors Raptors Summer League legend Moses Brown, and Ish Wainwright in his pink suit. Did you see him?
Ish.
I
saw Ish in his pink suit.
And you know what I was thinking? This is the most morbid thought. I was thinking, I'm really glad Ish Wainwright is not playing because I think we might be losing by more. Isn't that the bottom? Have I hit bottom? Is this rock bottom? I thought rock bottom was watching Rafael Arujo walk across the stage, but this feels like a triumphant new low that I'm praying that Ish Wainwright is on the injury report for the other team. Do you know something? Let me share something with you publicly. I almost want to share this with you privately. I actually bet on the Blazers today. Can you believe that?
Nice. That's a good call.
It was insane. Like the spread was 4.5 to 1. I'm like, how bad do they think the Blazers are? These are all NBA players, and the Raptors are playing like shit. And I had this feeling that they were going to lose, and I'm like, I'm going to be so sad if they lose. So at the very least, hedge the bet, because I'm going to be happy if I lose the bet, if the Raptors win, because I don't want the Raptors to lose. But if they lose, and I got to tell you, making a little bit of money on this didn't ease my pain at all. Nope.
It was a good. That was a good hedge. Today was a bit of a trap game for them in that
they were on a back-to-back. They played down to their competition. You want to know the sign of an immature team? And it's funny because we're not a young team. I would love to tell you we're a young team, but we have Gary Temple, who is pretty much single-handedly dragging up our average age by a single year, and Thaddeus Young, who's dragging it up by another year. But I mean, we're one of the older teams in the league. We do have adults in the room. We have changed the vibes. We have changed the culture. And yet we come out and lay an egg. We did play down to our competition. This is not how we played against Chicago. If we had played against them the way we had played Chicago, which, by the way, was a road game, we played on the road. If we had played the way we played the last game, which was the second night of a back-to-back against the 76ers, without our best defender, O.G Anunoby, we would have smoked this team. They developed confidence later. When they got to halftime and they're like, okay, we've played about as dog shit as we could ever play. And somehow this home team is committed to letting us, have a chance. And we potentially, if we lose this game, we're going to the worst starting record since 1987, which is when I was born.
Yeah.
Let's try to just win one. The Blazers can't even tank right. The Raptors can't even win right. I don't know what they're doing. All right.
No. It's rough. It's rough. They gotta make a move. They gotta try to find something for Pascal. It's gotta happen.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's playing down to his potential, so it's hard to showcase somebody who's playing down. He seems irrelevant in the games.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell's going on. If it's just a lack of IQ on his end, he doesn't know where to be. He didn't seem to.
That's not it. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, what is it?
Bro, did you watch Pascal Siakam in 2018, 2019? He hasn't forgotten how to play basketball. They're asking him to do right now is exactly what Dwayne Casey asked him to do when he came into the league. Is exactly, I mean, with some obvious alterations, more touches, more isolation touches, whatever. How do you think he played with a championship team? He wasn't isolating and doing what he was doing last year. You know, he was playing without the ball. He was cutting. He was great. He was incredible. It was his best year of his career.
He's just not trusting the guys who were on the court with him. Combination of that, and then also because it's a new system and there's new system, new plays being run. He's not used to it. And I think there's a little bit of I think he's a little over it, kind of, maybe. Right? He wasn't really, it didn't seem like he was trying too hard. I think the beginning of the game he was decent on defense. I saw him playing, Jeremy Grant pretty well. But by middle end of the game, I think the vibes just dipped, and guys were like, "What the fuck? Are we losing? Are we seriously losing to Jeremy Grant and Malcolm Brogdon right now? Because those were the two best players on the court.
They're not bad players.
No, they're good.
And had a hell of a
Malcolm Brogdon. I love Scotty, but I think Malcolm Brogdon was the best player on the court tonight. And this is the first game that a non-superstar was better, in my opinion, than Scotty Barnes in a game. Yeah.
And if I could interject for 1 second, the thing that highlights how good, or no, I shouldn't say highlights. It's actually more just it's a coincidence. But Brogdon and Siakam both shot the same from the field. They were both 9 of 21, but for whatever reason, Brogdon was so much more effective, in that shooting line. It's so crazy.
He's a really good player. He's a really smart player too. Jonathan, thanks a lot for calling in. You said you were going to call in, and you called in. Thanks a lot for sharing all of our stuff on X/Twitter. How are you?
Good, man. Good. It's nice to be here.
You have an awesome mic, or you have an awesome voice. I can't tell which.
Yeah, it's good. It's radio voice right there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So, I do some streaming, for a nerd game that I like to play. So I needed a decent mic, so people weren't hearing scratchy scratch. So, anyways,
Nerd gamers unite.
Oh yeah, I love. Anyways, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I would describe myself as I've been watching since '95, but I'm not anywhere near as educated as most people who watch this game or talk. I can't be as eloquent when it comes to it. But
even you saying that makes me doubt what you're saying, because most people who are highly ignorant about the game usually don't know that they're ignorant about the game. Simply knowing that you don't know things probably makes you far more educated than the average fan. I think you're giving average fans way too much credit, but please continue. Maybe you're going to tell maybe the next thing out of your mouth is we should run Chris Boucher at point guard, and then you will be proven completely correct. But I don't think that's what you're going to say.
No. The first thing I was going to actually say was I just wanted to give some props to Jesse, because we were chatting about Grady and the comparative that he made to Amir, and I thought that was spot on. I knew where he was going right away. That dog, there is no give up in that, and there is something so intangible yet you can sink your teeth into from you think about it. You're working with these people, right?
Yep.
It's that's your 9 to 5. As insane as it may seem to people who work in an office or whatever, that's their 9 to 5, and those relationships, right? How they interact with one another, that can go left or right. And when I see Grady, when I see him on the court with Scotty, holy shit! They look like they woke up and they're like, "Fuck, we're in a toy store," right? I apologize for the swearing.
No, it's okay. I swear all the time.
They're happy to be there, and it's so encouraging. And I guess the main reason I called in was I just wanted to say, Scotty is I tweeted something the other day, and it just said, like, we're watching the arrival of something here, and while it may not be ugly right now, let's remember the what is it, the butterfly analogy, like where you got the cocoon and the struggling to get out. It's an ugly, horrific act, right?
Oh,
It's not fun, and it looks like, oh man, I wish I could go and help that butterfly. But if you do one thing to speed up that process, you're gonna fuck that butterfly's like chance to actually fly, because fluid won't go to the wings. So in the struggle, we arrive at this like emergence, and just fucking enjoy this. It's so good to watch. Like, I know that the product right now is hard to swallow, but just savor these moments, because when whatever he arrives at, this is going to be something that you're going to wish you savored.
You know what I was thinking today when he started taking over in the third quarter, and he just put his head down, and I think there was one play where Chris Boucher got the ball in transition, and Scotty's just like waiting for him to fuck up a 2-on-1 transition break, and he's just waiting for him to give him the ball. And I'm looking at a 22-year-old who knows exactly what his 29-year-old teammate, veteran, is supposed to do, champion is supposed to do, and he's not doing it. And then eventually he gives him the ball, he misses, then he gets an offensive rebound, passes. I remember thinking, this is exactly how I felt like watching LeBron in his rookie year. This is exactly how I felt. There were a lot of guys who hadn't completely bought into the hype of him. There were a lot of guys who were just not suited to his skill sets. And I don't know what Cleveland was waiting for, but they started shipping those guys out one at a time. And you start to feel bad because you have an 18-year-old out there who is literally telling, 32-year-old vets where to be, but he's right and they're wrong almost every single time. And you do feel bad. You feel bad, but then you realize that LeBron James that went on, like a 26-0 run by himself or something, or 26, point run against the Pistons, and you're just like, God, get this man some help. Get him some help. The same guy who, struggled in Dallas, where everyone called him a choker. The same guy who every single person swore was not meant, is the same guy who years later returns to Cleveland, delivers them their first championship, and carries his team back against a 73-win team down 3-1 in the finals. That entire arc is so freaking beautiful. If you watched it all the way through like a movie, it was beautiful. It was frustrating while you were in it, but this is not how we talk about sports. Michael Jordan, all those years up against the Detroit Pistons, getting flatlined on his ass by Bill Laimbeer, beat up by Isaiah Thomas. Oh man, how much sweeter were those championships when he started to win them? I know that I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I see greatness in this player. I do. It's the reason I started this channel was, in part because I wanted to promote the growth of him the way, it's almost like archive it. I consider entire video archive like something I'll go back to, 10, 15 years from now to create a little mini documentary of it, like the first articles of LeBron. And, I've seen a lot of great players in my life. They're all like this. And it's really nice to see him have another guy who's on his wavelength in Grady. It's very encouraging. So I think you are right.
Yeah, and a little more babushka, Scotty, please, because that fit after the 76ers game, holy shit. I know most people didn't like it, but there's a reason why I'm repping it on my photo.
I mean, the funny thing is, he was asked about Nick Nurse.
Oh my God.
he has the funniest answer in probably human history.
Did you see that smile?
Oh yeah. So I was telling
God.
I was telling my girlfriend, Scotty tells jokes in his own head, so he doesn't say them out loud. He has a really funny way of doing this. He's done this every time he's asked an uncomfortable question. I've been watching this guy give interviews, and I've seen him get a little bit better at it over the last 6 years, but I read him pretty well.
Yep.
And it was really funny how he said what he wanted to say in his head. It was really kind of funny. So he laughed about it, and then he said something else. His brain worked on two little different levels. So it's almost like he says something, then he says what he really wants to say, but he suppresses it. It's like a brain, like almost like suppressing a sneeze. Yeah. But it goes off in his head. The joke goes off in his head. He laughs about it, and then he
And then
continues.
he tries to stifle,
It's funny.
and then
It's hilarious. And also, like, there was a really funny tweet about it where someone, I think it was Jafar, he said Scotty in a hijab complaining about Nick Nurse. He's like 5% of my mutuals. I was like, yo, that's hilarious. That's a really good tweet. Richard, we haven't heard from you. What are your thoughts on today's
just a lot of that Grady and it looks like Pascal's just irrelevant. I don't know. He just crap the bed these 2 games. I don't know. The one in Philly looked completely irrelevant.
I think Vince has checked out on us. He's just doing he's doing shit, making all sorts of noise.
Sorry,
He's just like,
oh shit! Sorry.
are you eating cookies right now?
Yeah, like I was just pouring some cookies.
This is hilarious.
It might be on Scotty to get a little bit angry at the rest of the players too. Right?
I think he is.
I don't know. I don't know if he hasn't yet. He should.
Have you seen the looks? He throws daggers on the court like you would not believe. That boy is like just. Like,
I meant in like the locker room. Like if you're saying you need a players only meeting, or a player could just like lose their collective shit and get angry. Sometimes that brings people out.
Have you ever watched?
I would be against that because he's just basically holding up the team, and I can see him in the press conference. He's like, "Well, I had 22, 10, and 10. Sorry, we lost, guys." Like I don't know.
But he's not doing that. He's never referenced his own stat line.
No,
I know.
Which I very much appreciate.
But they ask him questions like that, like
of course, because their media training over the last 6 years, all of these people who are currently propped up to the media have been asking Fred VanVleet about his stat line for the last 6 years as well. So they are just brainwashed into believing that someone who has a triple double is going to come out in a loss and be smug and throw their teammates under the bus. And he did complete opposite. He actually refused to talk about the triple double and threw himself under the bus, which is like, to me, it's like, man, God bless you. Like
privately you might do that.
I appreciate the hell out of this player so much.
Publicly you might do that, but privately you might say something else.
Yeah.
Because I know Pascal was sort of angry when he was with Nick Nurse sometimes, and it was like a public feud thing. Maybe there's something secret that, Barnes wants to. I think Barnes should just lose it. I heard there was a story that Chris Bosh once lost it when they were 1-8 on the players, and it woke them up.
I can't even imagine Chris Bosh losing it. I've never heard of that. I never heard that before.
I think it was the last year he was here. They were 1-8, and Sam Mitchell talks about the story. He was.
I would love to hear more about that. Maybe I'll have to research it after. I don't know how the hell. I don't know where I was at that time that I missed that. Usually I'm pretty clued into this stuff, but that's really interesting. Yeah, like I mean, like this is not uncommon. This shit happens, like what happened with Draymond and Jordan Poole. Like that happens at least once a year in every single NBA locker room. It just doesn't get talked about. It doesn't get covered. So, I don't know. Any final thoughts, guys? I want to get to Andre and Daryl. We have the greatest callers today. This is incredible. Like almost every single person I was hoping would call in has called in, except for Christian and Coach Mo. But yeah, and Larry.
I do have one final thought.
Sure.
I feel like the lineups that we're seeing right now are just like it's almost so painfully obvious that these are the we're giving you a chance lineups, right? And by the end of the year, I feel like besides Scotty and Pascal, and hopefully we can deal Pascal and get something in return for him. But besides Scotty and Pascal, I think the most important players for the Raptors will inevitably be Scotty, maybe Pascal if he's still there, OG, Grady, Christian, Koloko, Pirtle, and hopefully JFL gets a shot at those backup point guard minutes, right? And I feel like that grouping of players over Precious, over Boucher, over Flynn, a little bit cutting into Dennis. I feel like Dennis's minutes could get scaled back to about 25 a game.
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath on that one. Like every time I hear him talk on this relationship with Darko, and he just keeps talking about it, and he's talked about it ad nauseum to this point where I'm just like, honestly, bro, like he has not had a single good game yet. I don't care how many shots he's hit. I will not rate any of his games. I see every way that he's screwing up offensively. Defensively, he has been very solid for the most part. But so many issues offensively. And you know, maybe this is part of the process. He's never played this role before. Technically, he is an NBA veteran point guard, but I have watched Dennis Schroeder play since he was 17 years old. I have brought this point up many times. I was very, very, let's call it, obsessed with drafts for most of my youth. So I would do like my, let me watch all the, you know, tape and try to be right about this guy on this forum, whatever. I remember watching his youth stuff. He's not a point guard. So this is a transition. This is a transition towards, you know, hey, my scoring ability is going away. In order for me to extend my career, I need to become more of a floor general. It's not coming. It's not natural. They talk about organizing the offense. Has the offense looked organized for 1 second? Yes, it has looked organized when Scotty is initiating and when he is running in transition. Basically, your half-court offense has been dog shit for 3 straight games. Add this 4 straight games. It, like, just to put this in perspective, points per 100. Like, your defense has been on a completely other level, right? You're getting out of this world shooting up until tonight, where the entire thing fell apart. Your transition play has been like absurd. Like absurd. Like you've been so efficient in transition. It is almost mind-boggling that you're not 4-0 right now to be that good. There are these 2 critical things that are screwing up everything, which is giving up offensive rebounds and your efficiency in the half court. And these 2 things are single-handedly, I swear to you, cratering the entire win differential, score, everything. And it's making everything look so bad. It's making everything you're doing almost completely moot. And people who swear that they're smart and they know about basketball, they're not talking about it. They're not talking about it because they have a preconceived notion about what is actually happening on the court, and they're just trying to prove themselves right. And I think that we can become very tunnel visioned when we try to defend our takes too much. You need my suggestion, in case someone that I'm actually addressing ends up watching this somehow, please open your eyes to what's happening on the basketball court. It's actually blatantly obvious. Unless you walk in with a very, is what I wanted happening or not happening, is what I said was going to happen happening or not. You know, if you have this idea of like, oh, I was afraid that Pascal Siakam's getting frozen out of this offense, you see him get 9 shots, you're like, oh, see, I'm right. No, you're not actually.
Who gave that take?
I'm not saying. Nope.
Is it WL?
I have no idea who that is. Oh,
William
that
Lou?
Bro, like, you know, I was talking to my cousin the other day, and I have a bunch of first cousins, and I told him that because I deal with so many people, that him and 3 other of my first cousins are all one person in my head because we all talk about the same stuff.
Okay.
And he found that quite offensive. The Toronto media to me is all one person. They all say the same things. They just recycle them. They kind of pass them around. They don't deviate too much from each other. There's like maybe one person who dares to move outside the room, but they're all on the same freaking, you know, side of a lot of things. I don't mean to make this a us versus them type of thing, but I cannot forget that they all universally defended Fred last year. I cannot forget that. Even as he was launching contested, you know, floaters over 3 defenders and airballing. Like, how many airballs were there tonight? Like, I remember what side of the aisle they were on. I remember how painfully difficult it was to move people off that aisle. So yes, I refuse to believe that people who had that take then will have dramatically turned into slightly, you know, completely different people by within a year just because the situation has changed, you know? So I'm not trying to start a war in the comment section. I don't care. My point is, I just want those very smart people who clearly understand basketball to just try to break down this tape with a completely fresh perspective. Just forget you're watching the Raptors. Forget it's Pascal Siakam. Forget it's Scotty Barnes. Forget it's Grady Dick. Forget it's a rookie. Forget it's the guy that you like. Forget it's the guy you know. And just fucking watch a single play that they ran in the half court and tell me who's where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be, if the cuts are happening. Stop grilling Darko about his fucking, lack of 3-point shooting. Stop doing this, because you're missing the forest from the trees here. And I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want to have to do this low light shit again. I'm not going to do it again. I refuse to enter that level of energy, and negativity into my life. I'm not going to do it. I'll try to do it in an instructive and honest way as best I can without throwing anyone under the bus. But it's glaringly obvious. This shit is not happening in a fucking, it's not happening in a basement in Russia. It's happening on national television.
Well, no.
Like
local
this is
television.
Yeah.
It's not national. This isn't.
No,
being
I mean,
this isn't being
Canadian
broadcast.
national. It's Canadian national. It's
Well,
not on.
well, I didn't say it was.
on-
I didn't say it was China national. It's national television.
Yeah. I just mean when I say national
I guess.
television,
I guess you've trained your brain to think national television means North America national, but that's not national.
Yeah, U.S.
Maybe I'm being too literal. Anyways, nevertheless,
But just know you have a very good channel. You don't have to defend against when others have different takes that are wrong. You have a good channel. I wouldn't want you to be so insecure. You have a really good channel here.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's insecure. It's. I talked about it yesterday on Twitter Spaces, and I guess it's worth mentioning here too. We talk about, like, for instance, if right now, right, like if everyone can just join me in a very beautiful experiment, I promise this will make a lot of sense. So if you look around your room, to all 400 of you that are in here, look around your room, right, and find everything that's red. Just look for it. Everything that's red, everything that's red, everything that's red. If nothing is red, find something that's close to red. Everything that's red, everything that's red. Now close your eyes. Now tell me what was yellow. Can you think of anything? Immediately, can you think of anything? It's hard. But if you open your eyes, I'm sure you have something yellow, right? It happens this way. When you start honing in on something, right? Like assuredly, I have made my case on that I do not think Malachi Flynn is a great, player or anything like that. But if I just watch a game and I'm just like, let me just watch Malachi, let me hone in on Malachi and see every fucking thing that he's doing wrong, well, then I'm never going to see that the player who's supposed to set a pick for him set it weak, or that the guy who was supposed to cut didn't cut, or that he threw a good pass and the guy just fumbled it. I'm going to see Malachi turnover. See, I told you so. Yeah. Right? This is the blind spot. Get away from it. Right? I want Scotty to do well. It doesn't mean that when he fucking throws the ball out of bounds and he and Jakob have a miscommunication, that I ascribe that mistake to Jakob Poeltl. Your responsibility. You made the pass. It's your turnover. That's your responsibility. You messed up. So we have to be a little bit more fair. So my point is that when people with very large followings and people with they start making something about something, they start creating a narrative, then everyone starts focusing in on that narrative. So right now they have focused everything on Darko's offensive strategy.
Yes.
Every question is about, and the second thing they focused on is roster construction. So the narrative right now is, how is this roster supposed to shoot? And how is this young rookie head coach, whatever, supposed to convince a team that is supposedly selfish and has all these bad vibes? And so they're making this guy, they're extending what they did with Nick Nurse. They're creating a personality, and this personality is this, jovial, fun guy who changes the vibes, and he's doing this and he's doing that. So now you're watching the 0.5. You're watching these guys kind of pass the ball around like a fucking hot potato, and nothing's happening. And you're like, see, 0.5 doesn't work. Nick Nurse, I'm like, bro, this is not 0.5. This is not 0.5 offense. Ask anyone who's ever played basketball. This is not 0.5 offense. 0.5 offense is not predicated on passing the ball around like a fucking hot potato, aimlessly, directionlessly passing it.
Well, that's what they were doing for a few plays. I remember, and it was like, where's it going? And there was nobody to shoot. It was literally like, just get it out of my hands to.
Have you ever seen
about somebody to break down the defense at some point to create an advantage?
Yeah.
And so all they end up doing is just passing it around the perimeter, and you're just like,
exactly.
Okay, can you name me? Okay, we will agree that the Golden State Warriors had one of the most dominant offensive stretches for an entire decade. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see a lot of very shifty ball handlers on that team? Apart from Steph,
I see one.
Okay.
I see one incredible one, and then a
okay.
visionary a visionary.
Who else is Clay
uh,
a great? Is Clay a great ball handler? Is he
no,
any?
he's the second. He's the second best shooter of all time in the NBA. Second to the other guy on his team, and then
In terms of
Draymond
volume.
Green is a visionary passer,
Okay.
similar to Scotty.
Okay,
And
but who do you think Draymond Green has any better an opportunity to break down a defense than a Pascal Siakam or a Scotty Barnes?
hell no, he's just a smart
Okay.
player that knows how to create advantages with the two massive weapons that he has available
Okay,
to him.
so let me ask you a question. Do you think Golden State's offense goes to absolute shit when one of those players is on the bench? Or do guys like Kevon Looney, Jonathan Kuminga, well, to lesser extent,
No,
Jonathan
yeah,
Kuminga,
'cause-
Andrew Bogut. Do you know how many players they've had come into that offense?
Totally.
They had Otto. They have managed
All high
to
IQ.
correct. Sean Livingston's very high IQ. Andre Iguodala is very high IQ.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you know, for a lot,
Everything
for look, I refuse to believe that this concept of offense is the only way it can go. I'm sorry, like you're not going to convince me of that because I've watched it work 1,000 different ways. I've watched it in Europe, I watched it in FIBA, I've watched it in high school, college, NBA. I refuse to be gaslit one more time by people who refuse to acknowledge the other side. This is not the only way an offense can work. And please tell me, when is the last time Fred VanVleet broke down a defender off the dribble without a pick? Are you telling me that if Jakob set a pick for Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam, that it would be any less effective? It will be it will be more predictable because they're not as great shooters as Fred. But I don't remember Fred VanVleet being some 41% three-point shooter as much as they would like you to believe that he was. What is it that Fred VanVleet can do that Scotty Barnes cannot do? Like, I mean, the advantages that one has, the other one has the inverted advantage. So I'm sorry, I literally watched it work on the first play last game where Jakob comes out and Scotty just goes right to the basket. Who's stopping that? Jakob is a very good screen setter. He knows the angle of the screen. He understands it, and that will at least force some sort of collapse. I mean, if Jakob and Pascal commit to setting a screen for Grady on the baseline, are you telling me that Grady Dick can't get an open shot on almost every single play? And are you telling me that if the defense recovers, that has not created the exact same advantage than someone like pointlessly dribbling the basketball and trying to get past his man? I'm sorry, like this is such a ridiculous, it's so stupid to anyone who's watched basketball to listen to this and say that it makes sense. It's not. Yes, it's very helpful. But please don't get me wrong. It's very helpful if you have a guy like a John Morant or the guy that we just played, Tyrese Maxey. This is very helpful. These guys are zone busters. They are. There's a reason they're paid so much money. But please understand, there is a perfectly great way to make a very good offense work without one of those guys. You don't always need that. You need to force something. You need to go to your effective plays. You need to go to your guys who can score in the spots they can score. It doesn't mean that has to be this one type of player. Pascal Siakam is an effective post-up player. He's had 6 going into tonight's game. He's had 6 post-ups. Why are you going away from that? Why is he going away from that? And if you're going to blame the offense and say that he's not allowed to post up in this offense, I disagree. Because there's nothing about 0.5 offense that says Pascal Siakam cannot go to his spot and demand the basketball. All 0.5 offense, for everyone out there who thinks I'm being probably very snippy and rude right now. And I'm a little bit upset because it's so obvious. But all he would need to do is make a decision to do something with the basketball within 0.5 seconds. That's literally it. I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing.
Can I ask a question
Go ahead.
As an ignorant, like not knowing certain basketball concepts?
Sure.
So the whole concept of 0.5 basketball, the best case version of that was that magical Spurs team, right? That took down LeBron.
Yes.
Right. Like
yes.
What do they call them? I don't know, the beautiful game Spurs or something along those lines. Right.
That was beautiful.
They encapsulized 0.5 basketball, but they also look for mismatches. If Boris Diaw was on the court and there was a guard or even a smaller forward guarding him, they would look for that every single time down the court, right? So that fits into 0.5 basketball, does it not? And I'm asking this as a truthful question. I'm not asking it in in some way. Like, yeah, I'm truthfully asking the question.
I hear you, and yes, it does. You know, you can play the triangle in 0.5, right? You can play you can play Princeton in 0.5. Shit, man. Like, you can talk about so many different teams throughout history that have played what I would consider something close to what I guess we're calling 0.5 offense. Okay, the Showtime Lakers, right? Phil's. I mean, even the triangle. I mean, even if there's a little bit more surveying in the triangle, I mean, please consider the 90s was a lot slower, right? If we talk about any era where pace was higher, guys made quicker decisions. It's all read and react. Okay, so the whole concept of 0.5 basketball, and which is, by the way, something that our coaches talked about growing up. It's something that almost probably every single, I don't want to say every single because I don't know that. I know of a lot of coaches who preach quicker decision making. This whole 0.5 thing, I shudder to think that this actually started with us. Okay, because when he was hired, we played a podcast clip of him talking about his offensive philosophy, but it really wasn't his offensive philosophy. Okay, it was technically the offensive philosophy of the OKC Thunder, where he was coaching at the time. And they were talking and they were preaching this principle from, this European basketball of quick read and react. And he started talking about 0.5. Then I started talking about 0.5. And I don't know, maybe this is one of those situations where I'm taking credit for something that's not really mine, but I feel like he was asked about 0.5 after that interview came to surface. Now, I don't know if every single person independently discovered that interview, but I think this whole thing starts with that interview. Now, whether we brought it up or whether somebody brought it up and dug it up, ultimately, when he was hired, I think a lot of people scrambled to figure out who this guy was. And the first thing that came up on the web was that interview where he talks about 0.5 offense. To clarify for anybody out there who maybe doesn't understand what this looks like in practice, please refer to what Vince talked about, which is the San Antonio Spurs beautiful game. Go watch a single possession. If you want another example, if you want a more modern contemporary example, go watch Sacramento Kings last year. Same thing. 0.5 offense. It is basically as follows. I diagram a play for you. Let's say I dribble the ball up the court. I make a pass to Jakob Poeltl at the post. Okay. Jakob Poeltl has to decide between the moment he catches it and 0.5 seconds what he is doing, and he must initiate into motion what he is going to do with the basketball, which means that Jakob Poeltl is not going to hold the basketball, turn around, and then make the decision. He has to make the decision on the catch. Call it on the catch basketball. So when Jakob makes that decision, that means he's going to either dribble, pass, or shoot within 0.5 seconds. It's actually ridiculously simple. So if he's going to pass, then he's going to pass to the guy who just passed him the ball. He's going to pass it back, or he's going to take a dribble into and if he has a favorable matchup, then he should attack it until the defense makes a decision. And if that decision is going to change the initial decision he made, then as a smart player, which I think we can all agree Jakob Poeltl is more than sufficiently smart enough to play in an offense that is run like this because he did it in San Antonio for 3 years, then he must make the next read. And that player who he passes to must make the next read. But do you know what happens if 3 or 4 players do this correctly in a row? You have an open shot at the end of it, almost always. Okay, there are very few defenses that can recover, because ultimately, if Jakob Poeltl attacked a favorable matchup to begin with, let's say he had a guard like a DeAnthony Melton or something like that in the post, or he had Tyrese Maxey in the post pinned down. Okay, ultimately he's going to force a second defender, right? Unless if he doesn't force a second defender, he should be scoring.
I mean, he doesn't have much.
I'm sorry. Do you think someone who averages over 63% true shooting cannot score on DeAnthony Melton and Tyrese Maxey in the post?
I mean, if he's right under the rim, maybe, but he's not the guy like you saw tonight.
No, he has a little bit of handle. He has a little bit of passing ability. I'm sorry. Yes, I have seen Jakob Poeltl all the way back to Utah in his rookie days, like shooting jumpers from the free throw line. I mean, this is not a totally inept basketball player offensively. I understand
he's not inept, but he's not. He's also not he's not killer instinct guy. I don't think he's thinking to be aggressive for him to score.
Well, then talk to him about it, because he should be. And you know what? I remember his first game with the Raptors. I think he scored over 20 points, right? Or was the second game with the Raptors? He needs a guard who can set him up. He doesn't have one.
That game that we went to against New Orleans, he fucking dominated.
Right. And who was the center on the other end of the court?
JV.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and probably his backup was Jackson Hayes. So look, I'm just saying, what I'm saying is this is actually a very simple concept, but it doesn't work if one person keeps stalling it. Okay. So let's say you do pass to Jakob. Jakob decides to attack. Joel Embiid comes over. Guess what? Somebody had to cut into open space for him to have a passing angle. Now, if he doesn't have a passing angle, the whole thing is broken. The whole thing doesn't work. And now you are actually much better off going to the offense you had last year, because at the very least last year, you had the ball in the hands of one of your better decision makers, better scorers, in a position where he wanted it. And yeah, it was dog shit. And yeah, it'll never work in the playoffs. And yeah, it made my eyes bleed. But at the very least, it's better than this, right? And that's the whole point right now. Because if you refuse to do this, if you refuse to play into this, and this is not hard to buy into, then they'll have no choice but to go back to what you want to play like. Isn't that it? Think about it. Think about it a lot, actually.
I think the proof of concept can be that you're talking about right now could be unlocked with a trade. I think it's going to require a trade in the same way that when we had Rudy Gay on our team and it was kind of your turn, my turn basketball kind of deal. And then they made the Rudy Gay trade for a bunch of like middling pieces. And immediately,
show some respect to my man, Greatest Vasquez, man. Show some respect to John Salmons. God told him not to come here, and then he came here anyway. And show some respect to Chuck Hayes and Patrick Patterson. Patrick Patterson was dope for a bit.
Until
but hey, by the way, you know what I just described? 4 really freaking smart players.
Sure, yeah, and guess what? Literally, game 1. They were better. I remember Jack Armstrong saying, words resonating in my mind. They're better. Like he even said those words.
Yeah, and Jack Armstrong also suggested today that Scotty Barnes didn't try on defense last year. So in the first bit. So I'll take what he's saying with a bit of a grain of salt, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, we have 4 people lined up. I apologize. Any final words? Richard.
I'm sorry for crunching.
No,
these
just
fucking
thank
cookies.
you, and
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
you got a
guys.
great channel. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Richard. I appreciate it. Vince, thanks a lot for the laughs. We needed it tonight. And Jonathan, I hope you guys will call back anytime. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Thank you.
For having me on.
This is great.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Take care, boys.
Alrighty. And we are in for a treat because we got Andre. You didn't know you were on, and then I'm just like, Andre, and he's like, oh, did he just say my name? And we got Daryl, and we got SC, and we got Coach Mo. We got a panel, we got a dais. What is this? All right, what'd you guys think of the game, man?
We got a panel. All right, who am I?
You're Simon Cowell. You're Simon Cowell. You get to rip these.
I want to be Kevin Wilde. That's what I want to be.
I don't know who that is. I don't know enough. I've already exposed my lack of knowledge about this. I don't know.
All right. Yeah. Anyone want to take it away, or do you want me to jump right in?
Let's go in the order that I added you. Andre, what'd you think of the game?
It was terrible. It was a really bad game. I wanted to ask your opinion on the first quarter. It seemed like they were really trying to get Siakam involved in the offense, and I didn't think Scotty liked it. He seemed to be very passive and didn't really actually score much or do much other than facilitate. And I wonder if that was by design to get Siakam more shots because of the last game. What were your thoughts on that?
I agree. And I'm not saying that. I'm not going to say that he didn't like it. I'm just saying that he did a lot of what he was doing last year in order to just sort of fit in and allow Siakam to get him rolling. And I think maybe they underestimated their opponent tonight, because they thought, hey, we can mess around with our food a little bit. We're a much better team. We're at home. We're definitely going to be 2-2 after this. No matter what we do, we can just turn it on in the fourth. And I think, they started out this game thinking, let's try to get the player who's been struggling rolling. And however that's going to happen, right, if we have to go outside of our principles, our offensive principles, just to make him comfortable right now and to get him kind of his numbers, because we're feeling bad that our franchise player is averaging 11 points, then let's do that for him. We're feeling bad that the guy's taking 8 shots. It's become a media talking point for 48 hours. Oh my God, how could he take 8 shots? And there's two sides on this, right? There's the one side of it's on him. There's the other side of they're doing this to him. It's a conspiracy. Oh my God, they hate the guy. He's not supposed to be on the team. Darko's all about his, golden boy Scotty Barnes, and he's trying to shaft, Pascal Siakam. And look, look at how they're treating their all-star. Look at how they're treating their all-NBA guy. I think there's a third door, and I'm not ready to open it yet, but I'm just saying he has a responsibility as well to do things when he doesn't have the basketball. Okay. And he has, yes, there are some good reads, and I've been very encouraged by the shooting. And tonight the shooting sort of left him and left Scotty. And, we saw what the disaster case of 13% 3-point shooting is, when the threes don't fall for this team, oh my God, you lose to the Portland Trailblazers at home. I mean, if they shoot 25% from 3 tonight, they probably win.
Yeah, they win. But then doesn't that kind of go away from the philosophy of the 0.5 offense if all you're doing is trying to look for one player and the other players aren't moving towards? That's why I felt like it seemed Scotty was a little heavy there. I liked him facilitating, but it was more like, okay, but he's not getting to the spot, or that's not the shot, that's not the pass, that's not what we want to do here. I see this coming together here, and then it's like no, feed Siakam. So I don't know. I hope that's not the case. And
no, I agree. And I think, in the third quarter, when Scotty saw that it wasn't working, he just kind of said, okay, I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to take over. And it looked about as good as the team did. And then Pascal got going off of that too. And
why can't Pascal do that? Why can't he see the need to take command with the ball and say, hey, we need to score here. We need to score.
The last time I watched a team this frustrating was it's not even last year's Raptors, believe it or not. As frustrated as I was watching last year's Raptors, at least I understood what they were doing on offense. And it seemed like all the players understood what they were doing on offense, even though some of them were not happy about it. They understood what they were doing. Right now, it seems people are lost or disinterested or just simply refusing. This reminds me of Rick Pitino's Celtics.
Oh.
If someone gets that reference. Yeah, this reminds me of that. And I refuse to believe that Darko Rajakovic deserves this. Unless there's something about him that I don't know, I refuse to believe that he deserves this. Anyway, Daryl, what up, man?
It's been a long summer. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. So the game, obviously, not great, but I don't know, you touched on something, or some of the other callers did too. It's not really about the game or the results of the game here. I was looking for encouraging things that I saw in the game, and I'm glad that you guys talked a lot about Grady, because he was like the number one thing that was on my mind when I was going to call. I thought that he just, like you've said before, it's just like every game I see, it's just more and more encouraging, and I just like what I see more and more from him. So the shot's going to come. I'm not worried about the shot. So good on him. I guess the thing that I want to talk about that people haven't really talked much about is I kind of feel like Jakob Poeltl's getting tossed under the bus a little unfairly today. I thought today he was much better than the last couple of games. And I was watching defensively, like he was making little plays where he would maybe there would be a switch and there was a smaller guy on him. He'd play the guy tight, and maybe somebody like I don't know, Shaedon Sharpe or whatever was trying to get by him, and he'd take Shaedon like out of bounds off the baseline, and Shaedon would pass the ball into the paint, and of course Jakob at that point was out of bounds. Nobody was guarding the paint because he had taken Shaedon Sharpe. And what I would have liked to see is other tall players that were on the court at the same time step into the spot.
Nice.
Where Jakob would normally have been.
I like how you did that. Or we're all speaking in code right now. All right, that's good.
We are.
We're just
but
doing
there are certain
right?
players that have the physical gifts And
Christian Koloko. We're just shitting on Christian Koloko right now.
You know
Poor
what?
Christian.
get that bum off the court. To be honest,
Don't you
Christian
dare
Koloko,
slander my boy.
He was invisible today, man. No. So
did you not see
yeah,
his? Did you not see his hoodie? Yo, the guy was great. I loved Christian Koloko today. His performance was incredible. He contributed absolutely nothing negative to the court, which is exactly emblematic of a Christian Koloko performance. And I hope that he is well soon, because God, this team could use someone.
Fair point.
Who just buys into the offense, as his coach says. Yo, honestly, man, I've talked to a lot of people who say they fucking hate the NBA. Okay, they just watch college hoops. They hate the NBA. They'll go watch rec league. They'll watch their fucking YMCA league, but they will not watch the NBA because it's bullshit with the contracts and resting and referees and all this stuff. And I've never bought into that. I always say, the quality of the game on the NBA level is so great. The quality of the players. I want to watch the best players. Obviously, I watch all hoops as much as I can. I'm obsessed with the NBA, but I'll watch a little bit of college hoops. I'll watch a little bit of WNBA. I'll watch some AAU stuff. This was hard. This game was hard. It was hard to watch. It's really hard to watch. There was a lot of games that last year were hard to watch. This was particularly hard to watch because last year they were trying to do the wrong thing and it wasn't working. This year they're trying to do the right thing. And it's worse.
But it's like what another caller said is like appreciate
the butterfly.
The butterfly. Yeah.
Jonathan will be forever goated in channel history. Every time people will start to overreact, or I will start to overreact. People just we have a safe word now. We have a safe word. It's thank you to Jonathan. We have butterfly. Rob, remember the process. Remember, that it's a growing thing. And you know what? Every star had to go through this. Kobe had to go through this. LeBron had to go through this. They all had to go with, go through. No one's just gonna fucking you don't just get to come into a team where there's millions and millions and millions of dollars ahead of you and just be like, yeah, I'm not in a contract here, but I'm gonna take all your shots and I'm gonna get all the credit. I'm gonna be the best player. You have to fight for it. It's sad, but it's true. You do have to fight for it. And there's a pecking order. There's a real pecking order in the NBA. And it is not disrupted. And when you try to disrupt it unnaturally, you ruffle feathers. You really do, right? When Scotty came in and he started on day one, people were like, all right, we're going to let you do this, but don't you dare walk out of the offense. Minute Pascal Siakam comes back, you go back to 10 points per game, even though you're beasting and you and Fred have got this incredible synergy going. We were terrible after Siakam came back in his rookie year. For 4 straight games, it was like our defense went from best in the league to worst in the league overnight. Horrible. We had a team meeting, discussed it, hashed it out. Masai talked to Pascal. Things got way better. Had a great year, right? Kumbaya, everything is forgotten. Last year, same shit, right? I think it is very difficult. Can you imagine right now? I want people to get a fair evaluation of this. I think we can all agree that Victor Wembanyama is a type of player that a lot of people would build around, right? Okay.
I would. I would.
Okay. Thank God. Okay. So let's say that right now, Victor Wembanyama did not go to the Spurs, a team that had absolutely no one in the world that anyone thinks that they're building around. But rather, Victor Wembanyama had gone to... What's a good team? Atlanta.
Oh, that'll never happen.
But let's say he had been drafted by Atlanta. What if somehow Atlanta had traded for the pick that ultimately turned into Victor Wembanyama? And suddenly Victor Wembanyama goes to Atlanta, which is Trae Young town, and Trae is being asked to feature this young rookie, and he's not having it. I will not be outshone in my own team. I'm a top 3 guy. This is what happens when guys feel themselves too much. They think that they're way better than they are. There are a lot of players on this team that think they're way better than they really are. And it's like
happened with Monty Ellis and Steph Curry.
That is also true. Yes, that is a great example. Monty Ellis was pissed to shit that they drafted Steph Curry. Why? Because in his mind, there's no way.
Monty Ellis have it all. That's what he said.
Monty have it all, and he could not understand in a million years how this guy was going to help him. He's like, this guy's not here to help me. He must be here to replace me. And so it became adversarial. And Steph didn't understand it because Steph's not Steph's not like that. Steph didn't, there are very rare people in this world that do two things. Number one, they commit to what their coach asks of them, right? Very rare in the NBA. There's literally guys who are like, if you're not a fucking Phil Jackson type coach and you go to the guy like, oh, you're going to do this? You're like, no, I'm not. Like if Nick Nurse had wanted Kawhi Leonard to do something that Kawhi Leonard was absolutely vehemently against, guess who was going to win that war? Guess who was going to win that discussion? This is the NBA. This is the reality of the NBA. I mean, Kawhi's not a dick, but he's not going to do something stupid because he knows better. He was coached by Greg Popovich, right?
He just told Ty Lue I wasn't going to run in the gym. I don't know if you heard that.
Nope.
I wasn't going to run, and then he's not going to run.
Well, this
he's
is
Kawhi
it,
Leonard.
right? And if Doc Rivers wanted James Harden to do something that James Harden didn't want to do, some of these guys are like they are in a weird way like they are co-coaches. Like Kyrie is the only person who has just come out and outright said, "Oh, we don't really need a coach. We kind of have." But that's really how a lot of things work, right? It's not like David Blatt is telling LeBron James to do something he didn't want to do. Like players have to allow themselves to be coached, but they're not going to allow themselves to be coached by someone they don't implicitly trust and likely someone they didn't put in place. Do you think Pascal Siakam was consulted on who he wanted as the next coach? Do you think he is completely blind and oblivious to the fact that this coach has literally... I mean, here's something worth noting. Can you think of a single team that has ever hired a rookie head coach to coach a contender? I can think of one, and he was fired very quickly. Can anyone think of another example? Like a complete, like never coached in the NBA. Like he's never been a head coach in the NBA.
Dude in Boston.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking.
Ty Lue?
Nash.
Nash was put in by the players. He was KD and Kyrie's choice. Ty Lue was put in by LeBron. He was his choice. The only one I can think of where management imposed it on their star player was David Blatt, and he was fired very quickly.
Yeah.
And that was for LeBron in Cleveland.
Blatt
But
was
is there
hired before LeBron.
am I missing something?
Blatt
What
was
about
hired
Boston?
before LeBron came.
Who is the head coach in? You mean their current head coach?
Yeah, he was kind of put in.
Doesn't completely count, but I mean, Ime Udoka would count because Ime Udoka was the first-time head coach.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah,
Ime would count, and I wonder if Jason Tatum hand selected him, and Adrian Griffin would count. Actually, there are a lot of examples now that I think about it. Okay, so there's apparently a lot of examples. Okay, I stand corrected.
Yeah.
But I just think if your purpose was to win and win with Siakam long term, then he would have been very, very much involved in this coaching.
This sounds boring, but I'm gonna say it, right? This guy, we got to get him off the team. I'm sorry.
Who?
Pascal.
We're opening that can of worms. I don't know if you caught. I don't know if you caught the cue. We're talking about tall people right now.
Yeah, I know.
We're speaking in code now. We're speaking in code. Come on.
Let's just open the can, let it blow, because there's no this whole thing about keeping a player that doesn't fit the system here, where you're trying to change the regime, is ridiculous.
Why does he not fit the system? Is he not a good playmaker for his size? Yes. If you think about their defensive identity that they want to have, he fits.
No. So we were talking about the Spurs, right?
Mhm.
So, and I've heard, like, you got a good channel, and you talk even ad nauseum, even yourself, your channel, you need certain type of players to play this kind of offense. I mean, Spurs, they got Tony, you got Tim, Manu, Boris Diaw, all high IQ, but with skills as well, can score in the half court and in full court. We don't have that play. Pascal's very limited. He's good in the post with a couple of spin moves. Like, I worry when I see him dribble a ball for 17 seconds, trying to put a floater up. It's not. Go and try to dunk the ball, my man. Like, his last step, he can't get by people. He needs a foul call to go to the line. So in this system, he doesn't fit. I'm sorry. You can try to run. You can try to run him to the basket, and then he does. Yeah, I saw a couple today, but I mean, he needs that post move, or if you let him dribble on top of the key, it's over.
Like, could you put Pascal in the pick and roll as the
ball handler?
As a dribble man, ball handler?
I've never seen that. He can't get a separation. Like, his last step, he can't. Like, he puts some soft stuff. No, he's not good enough, man. Like he's
Like when you see him play with Podol at the pick and roll, like I've seen a few plays like that. It doesn't go anywhere. It
doesn't go
shut
anywhere.
up. I
Because
think
I don't think that he's not really built for that, and he's never done it. So obviously, if you tell him
He's
to
never
do it
done
now,
what?
like,
Whoa, he's never done what? He's never done this
he's never
react
been
motion
no,
offense
he's never,
type of shit.
No, he's never been asked to be the point guard in a pick and roll.
Yes, he has.
No. I remember.
Yes, he has.
Yes, he has. Last year.
He has with Aaron Baines in Tampa. He's done it a few times with Kem Birch. I mean, look, he's done it with Scotty. I refuse to believe that someone has run point as much as Scotty and Pascal have in the last 2 years. I mean, all the developmental runs that they've gotten, and you're telling me no one's ever set a pick for him and they've never rolled to the basket. He's not particularly great at it. Fine. We can make that case. He needs to get better at it. But look, man, big playmakers are a luxury. You have an abundance of them. You have 3 really good ones in Grady and Scotty and Pascal, technically. So those are all 3 guys who can be on both sides of the pick and roll if they chose to be, especially Scotty, because I think Scotty's a very dominant screener. I'm not sure I trust OG's decision making completely as a pick and roll ball handler yet, but I've seen potential from him. And then of course there is the theoretical, hypothetical upside of Precious Achiuwa, who once used to play guard, and hit a growth spurt. And of course he is a complete basketball test tube baby at this point. Is a complete we'll see what comes out on the other end of it. But there's nothing wrong with expecting, that skill set to develop. So at some point, we have to decide which camp we're on. Are we on the, these guys need to develop and learn this offense and they haven't implemented all of it and it's going to look a hell of a lot better later? Or are we on the side of, we don't have the personnel to ever run this offense, which seems like what I'm getting a lot from this chat is, you can't have Pascal, you can't have guys like this in this offense. And I simply think that if I could drop Pascal Siakam onto the Spurs and replace him with Boris Diaw, I don't want to say they get better because I am a very, very big fan of Boris Diaw, but I think they could be better if he bought into it. Much better.
I'm in the first camp for sure. I totally think that this offense could work with this group of guys. I'm not really there.
They can't.
Yeah, I do. I think so because
we get to the
preseason. I know the preseason doesn't count as far as points go, but you can actually see ball being played, and you could see them making plays that they're not making now. Now I don't know what the reason is. Maybe they're scared of turnovers now that these games count. Maybe they're a little bit injured already. I mean, or maybe there's some friction going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and some guys aren't buying in. Maybe just their shots aren't falling, and so they're not trusting each other as well. We don't know. But in the preseason, I saw beautiful basketball in stretches.
Is it amazing that we've gone an hour and 57 minutes, and I don't think anyone has even mentioned Gary Trent Jr.?
I was going to.
He's not worth mentioning.
He's not worth mentioning, man.
He's not worth mentioning.
I literally pulled him up, his stats up, and I was like, what happened? Like, what happened to him?
By the way, can I just say this?
Mm-hmm.
Gary's struggling, but when you have lineups with Boucher and Flynn and McDaniels, it's like if you're having a bad night, those guys aren't going to make it any easier.
Exactly.
If you're having a slow start, like someone just said, this offense can work. It can't. How many players on this roster do you truly believe can play 0.5 quick basketball, quick decision makers? The coach can't think for them. The coach can't put an earbud in each ear and tell them to do this and go there.
How many of these guys
do it? Can Boucher really play that way? Can Precious really play that way? Can Gary really make quick decisions consistently? Right? Can Flynn do it? Like, honestly,
that's not what 0.5 offense is. It's not asking every player on the court to be a chess grandmaster.
I'm not saying that.
There are like guys that are running the offense.
Three are constantly making mistakes over and over and over and over and over again.
That's what training is for. That's what training is for.
You can't train them. There are multiple variables going on the court at all times. It's not like,
yeah, that's correct.
It's not a picture. It's live action. It's happening. You're not going to say this. You're not going to see the same thing twice in a game ever. Like in the same game. Like, you can't teach these people. Some of them can't be taught. I'm watching Jonathan Kuminga. The best gift God can ever give man. That guy can't play basketball. He makes the most mistakes I've ever seen. Chris Paul can't save him.
You're not lying.
Like, honestly, 100%. I coach youth basketball.
Then
you either have high IQ or
don't put the ball in his hand.
Either have it or you don't.
Yeah, but
Coach
the
Mo,
point,
be real. Do you have a kid on your roster that you believe could successfully play some variation of what, like,
No,
if you
I've coached a kid. There's a kid named Aaron. Yeah, he's a smarter basketball player than Achua by a thousand fold. Like the passes he makes, he just has it. I don't. You can't explain it.
I've played with
You can't
players who are a
explain it.
lot smarter than Precious Achua. I've played with players who I think are smarter than Scotty Barnes. They're not better than Scotty Barnes, but they're
No.
definitely like, yes, you're right.
The
Look,
error rate on this team is too high. It's way too high, and I also think the talent level is not good. If you're watching, I'm watching a lot of basketball this first week of the season. Bro, Flynn's not touching the court for like every team.
I can list 1,000 cases though where talent is not successful. It's not about that.
I don't
What
think
is it
the
about?
talent is high enough, and I don't think the IQ is high enough.
It's about training, and it's
when you
about
combine those
identifying.
two factors, it's too much.
yes, it is.
It's too much. It's
I
too much
second that.
combined.
okay, so here's
I
a
kinda
question.
think it's about positioning as well. Like if you think about it, when you watch the team, and you have to make a 0.5, like a decision in 0.5 seconds, right? If you're not getting multiple options to make that decision, it's harder to make that decision. If someone is just standing there in a corner, and you're gonna just pass to him, what if he's covered? So what now? Now you've spent 0.1 of the seconds now thinking of that person, and that person hasn't moved to make the offense actually look like it's moving, so that you can get into different corners and different areas. When you watch the Nuggets play and you see Jokic at the top of the key, and if someone cuts just the backcourt, and then V cuts back, and he catches, he hits him. Right? And you don't see that from the Raptors. The Raptors are standing there with their shorts on offense.
Yeah, but I want to say one thing, right? Great, you brought up the Nuggets, right? Everybody talks about Jokic, the high IQ. Great, I agree 100%. But when he makes an unorthodox shot, it's going in, right? And he moves so effortlessly, like he can score at will. No one in this offense can do that. I don't care. Even Scotty, like he may be the highest, has got the highest ceiling. If this was the playoffs, let's just say we hypothetically made it to the playoffs.
Mhm.
Who's scoring in the half court offense? That's what's going to become.
Okay.
Pascal, I'm scared
Just
when
because you don't have Nikola Jokic, I mean, welcome to the club, man. That's 29.
I
other
know,
teams.
I know,
They don't
I
have
know,
a
I
player
know,
that
Rob.
good.
I know, but I think I second what Coach Mo is saying. When you don't have the IQ level and you don't have the talent, it's hard to play this
to
style.
overcome. Those two
Yeah, it's too much
factors
to
are too much
overcome.
to overcome.
I'm
Wait,
with you.
hold on. What if okay? How much of an IQ like mindset?
No, but
is
what I
watch
want to
your guy
say,
do
what I
V-cut?
want to.
Hang on, can we just let Andre finish his sentence?
Sorry, Andre.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
No, I was just saying. I don't think, like, if you think about it, how much of an IQ is it to just do a V cut towards the basket or see your man? Like, I don't.
Bro, they taught us
am I
that in grade
crazy?
4.
Tell me, Coach. Well, tell me. Like, I'm there looking at it, and it's like, pop. Like, you can't do that. Like, that doesn't. That I think movement and player movement positioning, you can do that.
But you're
You have
forgetting
to-
people's players' habits, right? Like when they gone from a system that was just standing around and watching one guy dribble the ball till the air comes out.
No,
What are they doing in practice? Like seriously.
I refuse to believe any of this. This is all fucking hogwash and bullshit. Okay, listen, I am not the smartest basketball player. I actually notoriously screwed up on this stuff myself. I had a terrible time sometimes read and react. I would sometimes look down a little bit when I was dribbling and I would miss an obvious pass, and my teammates would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I had to train with a visor to get better at it, and I got better at it. But someone asked me on an Instagram question today to describe myself as a basketball player. I said I'm the anti-Scotty Barnes. Okay, so trust me, it's taken me a really, really long time to learn this game because I struggled with this stuff myself. And once I got the basketball, like if I didn't have the basketball though, I was great. Once I got the basketball, then I struggled to make the next pass. Sometimes it was short, sometimes it was, so a lot of what I'm watching right now is like, like it's my nightmare. Like I'm watching these guys make every mistake that I made. And so what I'm saying is like, it is impossible to be this bad and be a professional basketball player in Europe. Impossible.
Yeah.
You can't, I don't care. Yo, everyone talks about Chris Boucher so stupid, right?
You really think that? You really think he's so stupid? Like
No,
for real?
he's not. He's
He played for the Oregon Ducks. Go watch him. Go watch him play in college. You think he was doing this shit in college? You think he was just like launching like fucking fadeaways from like the corner contested? No, man. I mean, I understand he was undrafted, but I mean, the Golden State Warriors picked him up. He averaged 30 points per game for the Raptors 905 1 year, right?
MVP, defensive player. of the year.
MVP, defensive player of the year. He had a, I mean, look, no one is confusing him with a basketball savant. He is not like a smart basketball player. But please, can we stop talking about him like he is me in high school dribbling the fucking ball off my foot because I'm not looking up? It's not the same shit. Like and what you're asking these guys to do is not actually make as many decisions as you are thinking you're asking them to do. So, for instance, there are certain players in your offense that are going to make a disproportionately larger number of decisions than others, and certain players who are keys and cogs. So, do you think, for instance, like, okay, we can agree that the Kings' offense was a little bit more predicated towards 0.5 shoot, pace, and space, right? Okay. Yep. Do you think Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray made anywhere near as many decisions as De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis last year?
No, exactly.
Do you think they got as many touches? Do you think what percentage of their touches were finishing touches and which one of them were passing touches? That's my point. See, you are running double stagger screens to get Kevin Huerter open. If he's not open, your decision maker, which is Domantas Sabonis in that situation. I mean, people are taking 0.5 too literally. It doesn't mean that if you get the ball, you have to play hot potato. I mean, I hope that's not how this has been explained to them. That's never how it's ever worked for anyone. Tim Duncan held the ball for 3-4 seconds, but things had to happen. And this is the thing. Scotty, he gets it. This is, and this is where you say you put the ball in your best decision makers' hands. Your Boris Diaws, your Tim Duncans, your Manu Ginobilis. These are your best decision makers. So disproportionately, they will have more deciding power within your offense. But that doesn't mean that when they have the basketball, that everybody else does nothing. Mm-hmm. That is how you have a stagnant offense that we had last year, right? OG stands in one corner, Scotty stands in one corner, Pascal demands the ball, Jakob is clogging the paint, Fred VanVleet's dribbling the fucking ball out of basketball, and guess what's happening? The defense is loading up and they're gearing up. And the minute Fred VanVleet sees Pascal Siakam on, a mismatch, they all see it too because they're not stupid. So now they are planning to collapse on the double team. And Pascal Siakam on that catch has to make the first read out of it. Do you notice what I just said? Not one fucking pick was set in what I just said. Not one dynamic dribbler was needed to give the ball to Pascal Siakam in a position where he is a scoring threat. You must try to score if you are in a favorable position to score. What fucking... It's a game of points. At the end of the day, there's only one truth about basketball that I have found to be unquestionable even by the most idiotic fan. That the team at the end of the night with more points has always won. It is an undefeated record time and time again. So if you pass up an open layup, you're an idiot. You should never ever pass up an open layup or an open dunk. You should never pass up an open three unless the situation on the shot clock absolutely determines that you do so. These are shots that you should take. And this should be beaten into you in every film study that you've ever been in. I refuse to believe that Darko Rajakovic is coming in and teaching professional basketball players how to play fucking rec league basketball. Why are we talking about 0.5 offense like he's trying to teach them quantum fucking physics? This is the simplest shit on earth. You talk to any player, I guarantee you Keegan Murray could come into this offense and learn it within 2 days.
Oh boy, that guy's a stud.
Yeah.
Is he that exceptional though?
No. But
no.
So then what is
playing right?
What is the problem then?
Yeah,
because
what's the problem,
is it just effort or is it personnel?
Okay.
I know exactly. I mean, I have my theory about what the problem is, and I think that the problem is what's the difference between what we saw in the preseason and what we're seeing now? We need to identify that first because we have seen glimpses in the preseason that this can work.
Okay. Let's work out the problem backwards. What's the difference between now and the preseason? Answer your own question. What's the what is it?
Okay. The answer is the way that the players are moving off the ball on the offense. Okay. I'm not talking about the defensive side. Let's just talk about the offensive side. Mm-hmm. And Darko even mentioned it today in the post game, with the question about the 0.5 offense, and he was just like, 0.5 offense is not just throwing the ball around the 3-point line. Correct. 0.5 offense is about moving. It's about somebody moving to a place where there is. Oh yeah, there is. Stats matter. That's it. It's about moving to a place where there is space or a mismatch. And that's it. So it's like it's binary. You have two choices. Move to a place that is not a good position or move to a place that is a good position. And that's it. And so if the players move to places where there is a good position or a mismatch, then you'll see what we saw for actually extended stretches in the preseason, because guys were trying hard to audition for their to make the team. Guys like Javon Freeman Liberty is a perfect example of this. He did it every single time he touched the ball, or not touched the ball, but every time he was on the court, he would try to get to his spot before the ball got there. And then he would make a right decision with the ball. Now, I'm not saying that the Raptors are filled with Nikola Jokic's that are going to win the NBA title if they get this 0.5 offense. All I'm saying is that this roster is capable of playing 0.5 offense. They're probably, I could even say certainly not going to win the title this year. They are not talented enough of a team to win the title. They are not real contenders. But I do believe they can play 0.5 offense.
Well, they can.
Bro, there are AAU teams where coaches are preaching 0.5 offense. Once again, may I please remind anybody who is going to continue to run with this. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but the people who talk about this stuff really don't understand sometimes what they're talking about. Like, Andre, I could see from your reaction that you totally do understand what I'm talking about. And am I crazy to think that this is absolutely absurd, the way that they're mentioning this? Like they're trying to teach them a completely brand new offense that they've never played before? I mean, it is a simple game. Listen to Scotty Barnes talk about the game. Listen to him. Listen to him talk about all the changes they're going to make this year. Has he ever described it as, oh my God, it's going to be hard? Do you think he's completely oblivious to the game of basketball? This is a guy who's been playing basketball since he was in grade 4. It's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. And on a professional level, it is completely impossible to not know how to play this way. I remember, there was some time in Scarborough where we had some guys from Lithuania, and they were on a low-level pro team that was doing a tour through Canada at the time. And I remember playing with those guys. Bro, they were playing 0.5 offense. They are barely paid professional basketball players playing in Lithuania. Okay, if you know the game, you know the game. I remember my ex-girlfriend's dad. Okay, I remember playing pickup with him. We played this way. We've all played this way. It's so fast. I remember we played three. I'm not. Please don't understand. Please understand. I'm not a fucking professional basketball. I'm not great at basketball or even good at basketball. I'm just saying that I understand basketball, and it's actually very simple. You pass, you move. You move to space. You move to an open space. Watch Scotty when he passes. Does he just stand there? Does he look around? No. The minute he passes, he's screening away, right? Or he's cutting behind the defense. He's creating some sort of disruption. The problem with this offense sometimes is, yes, you're right. There are certain players who I do believe get confused once in a while, but I'm not even seeing guys try to do the right thing. Let me give you an example. If this offense was struggling because guys were running into each other because they haven't learned how to communicate who's going to do what when, I would be a lot more forgiving of what is happening right now. If one guy cuts and then another guy cuts and they end up in the same space and they're just like, oh, motherfucker, you were supposed to go left, I was supposed to go right. And then I would understand. If there was a lot of, like what Scotty did with Pascal, where Pascal is just not hearing the play, or someone's not communicating the play, or Dennis is not organizing the play correctly, I understand that too. Okay. A lot of this is just simple basketball. I'm sorry. I cannot say it any more than I've already said it. Maybe I'm getting repetitive here. I apologize to the chat. It's absurd to me how mythologized this already is in Toronto Raptors culture. It's not difficult. It's not difficult at all to play this way. Every Division I basketball player that I know of can play this way, and they would figure it out. Yeah, sometimes there's a couple of plays you have to run it out. You have to figure out the timing of it. That's what practices are for. They've been practicing all summer. They had all summer to work this out. I refuse to believe right now if Jeff Doughton was on the court right now, not to bring up my boy Jeff Doughton here, but I'm not I'm not going to fucking waste an opportunity for an audience of 350 people and eventually thousands of people tomorrow to not mention that Jeff Doughton could run this play in his fucking sleep when he was 14 years old. I don't think I'm kidding on that. I think LeBron James could have run this when he was 12. This is not difficult. I'm sorry. I refuse to believe. It was difficult for me because I'm stupid on the basketball court. It's not difficult for professional basketball players. This is not, and 11, thank you. This ain't Darko's fault. You know what?
No, it's not.
There are certain things I will
Bad.
100% hold him
100%.
accountable for. He is not blameless. But what is happening on the basketball court is not his fault.
He's not out there shooting 4 for 29 from 3. Okay.
No, he's not. He cannot make the shots for them. He cannot box out guys for them. He cannot communicate mismatches for them. He cannot make the right read and react. He cannot force Pascal Siakam to set a solid screen. He cannot force Scotty Barnes to pass to Jakob Poeltl's hand instead of the third row. He cannot do any of that for them. He cannot. He cannot force Pascal. You know, I'm not going to harp on Scotty's mistake in Chicago because I think the media has done enough of that for me. But he cannot force Scotty Barnes to stay on his feet. He cannot force Grady Dick to not pick up 5 fouls. He cannot do any of this. He is unfortunately dealt a certain roster and in a very unique predicament where he's a first-year head coach for a team that does not have their draft pick. And he has a lot of pieces that don't fit and certain guys in contracts. And this is the business of the NBA. And I think he's smart enough to know what he signed up for.
I think we need to turn a new leaf. I mean, even if we're gonna suck this year and not get the pick, like just get Pascal off this team. Like just
What are you
get him
getting
out.
for him, bro? Like,
Even if you don't, we got nothing for Fred. Maybe he's untradeable. Look at him, look at his stat right now.
Oh, come on, man. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Or are we so divorced from reality as a fan base? I don't mean to call you out, SC, because I appreciate you for sure, but and please don't take this the wrong way.
No.
But do you legitimately think that Pascal Siakam is like worthless?
He's
a
not
two-time
worthless,
All
but
NBA guy who's a walking 20 and 10.
Here's the problem: you keep holding on to the guy, and he continues to not do the thing you want him to do. So what do you want to do? So are you going to turn the leaf and give the team to Scotty and Grady and all the younger guys, whatever
the
talent
front
we
office
have?
backed themselves into
This
a
is
corner with Pascal.
in a corporate world, they would have said like, I know this guy's really good, but I need to get rid of him because he can't work with the new management. I'm sorry.
What happened last year? You know, they say the best predictor of past behavior, predictor of future behavior is past behavior. What happened last year? We heard a lot of stuff. Media day. We heard a lot of stuff this year, media day, right? New vibes, new offense, 0.5, all this shit, right?
Mhm.
When has this offense looked at its best? When Scotty's going one-on-one against 2 defenders, bully ball in the post, isolating, right? That's the only time it's ever worked in transition. And when he does that, if Scotty does not shoot, like if you take 3 factors out of this offense, okay? Factor number 1, transition. Absurd, not going to be sustainable. You cannot score this efficiently in transition. Teams will catch up to you. It's not going to sustain. Number 2, absurdly hot shooting for a team that technically, you know, has a lot of weak shooters. There are a lot of guys shooting above their pay grade right now. That's not going to continue. Okay. And number 3, Scotty basically going like God mode for 1.5 quarters every single game for the last 4 games. And just doing that for you. And I don't know how long that's able to continue if he's able to continue to do that. And then, of course, there's a 4th thing, which is your unimaginable level of defensive effort that is being exerted to make up for your shit offense that's not working. Take those 4 factors out or even soften them just a little bit. So maybe instead of 38% 3-point shooting or 36%, whatever you're at, drop it by 2-3%. Maybe instead of your 96, 90, 97, whatever defensive rating, make it 99. You're not even in any of these games. You're not even close. You're getting blown out all 4 games. I'm not kidding. There are so many things, well, all 3 games prior to this game. This game, you're exactly where you are because you played like shit and those variables didn't work out for you. My point is that there's a lot that is happening here that could be so much worse. And that's the scary part.
Yep.
You're actually playing above your head in certain levels. So the parts that they are trying to change, like I don't know, I don't blame, some of these media people who are like, the 0.5 offense is not working. They're just passing the ball around like a hot potato, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I was ready to puke when I hear that. Oh, give the ball to Scotty. This is why you give the ball to Scotty. Sorry, not Scotty, the Pascal. I'm like, I was ready to puke when I hear that kind of stuff.
I'm assuming you played basketball?
A little bit.
Just enough, right? Just enough.
Just enough. Not at the level you guys played or coached, right? But I mean, I can tell when a guy hold the ball.
I mean, bro, we're not former fucking Division I athletes here either. We're just fucking guys who just read a playbook.
But Rob, like, would you again? This goes back last year's the whole theme of this thing, right? You would you rather be in the middle? Like that's where we're gonna be in the next couple years, right? But you're not building it right, and you're keeping an old problem continually being here. He's not going to change. I guarantee he's not going to change. He can't. Yeah. He's 29.
Right.
Mark Anderson saying, Rob, your favoritism for Dario is sickening. I'm assuming you mean Darko.
Dario.
Do you seriously do you hear favoritism in my voice? This is a guy who I've followed on Instagram, knew of. I have family members who know him, and he's the only coach that I followed on Instagram. And yet I pushed Jordy and Jama over him and Ime the whole way through. He was not even in mention of the 13 coaches that I would have hired. Okay. I didn't think they would even look at him. I didn't think he was available. Okay. After he's been hired, I have been very fucking critical of him. I understand why you think that I might have a favoritism to him, because I'm coming out in his defense right now and saying the players need to work harder for him. No, I don't have a favoritism for him. I actually I am not happy with the fact that he's played certain lineups that he's played. But please understand that this is a man who has worked very fucking hard, and he is a very genuinely good person, and he does not deserve this. He may not be a basketball savant. We will wait and see. Okay. But he does not deserve to, be made fun of this way, almost that, like, look at what this coach implemented and look how everyone's struggling. I got to tell you, if I fucking coach a youth team and I say, this is the way we're going to play, and no one does anything that I'm doing, that I'm saying, then, I'm going to look like a fucking moron. I will. I'll look like, you know what I mean? Like if my team just decides to dribble the basketball off their foot every single time down the court, like, I'm going to look like an idiot who coached a game where my team got blown up by 80 points. Teams can do this. Okay. I'm just saying it is a two-way street. You have to agree to play this way. And if you don't play, the coach has to be empowered to have the authority to bench players who are not going to play this way. You have to have some sort of leverage here, because the leverage on the player side is, you want us to do something, we're not going to do it. We're not going to learn it. I refuse to believe that anyone can do this. Anyone can play this badly.
But it's like with not trading Pascal and the media the way they are, it's almost like you kind of set Darko up
yes,
to kind of like in a tough spot, right?
He's the fall guy.
Yeah. And to me, there's a simple solution. You have to trade Pascal. Like, you have to.
Thank you.
Like, you have to.
I rather we be bad. Yeah, exactly.
You don't have your pick. So it's like, are you banking on top 6? Or the simplest solution to me is just swap Tobias Harris and Pascal Siakam. And then re-sign Harris for like high 20s, low 30s.
No.
Like, that's the simplest solution short term.
I'd rather
not continue.
Yo, bro, someone take away my moderatorship. I don't know why I keep flashing this guy's comments on the thing. Maybe I just want people to know how ridiculous you are, Mark. Rob, if Darko keeps shutting the bed, I will send him a message on Facebook. Yo, bro, I don't know if you trolling at this point, but you make me laugh more than Vince did. That's funny. All right, please send him a message. Send him a message. Tell him straight. Tell him, Mark, how to coach basketball. He's only been doing it for 35 years. Teach an NBA head coach, assistant coach how to coach basketball. Let him know. Let him know what you would do. Let him draw him on an X's and O's. Draw it on a fucking etching sketch. All right. Look,
he's worth way more. I don't know if he's worth way more. I know he's worth more, but at some point, fit matters, chemistry matters.
Correct.
Because to me, I respect Tobias Harris so much. That guy has played third fiddle to Ben Simmons.
You can pay $35 million a year, bro.
He's $35 million. He's expiring. You're swapping them. They're both expiring.
Okay.
And if you can re-sign him for like 28, 30 million for like 3 years, he fits. I mean, his defense isn't that much worse. He's more engaged. He's shooting like 40% this year. He's a high three-point shooter. I'm just saying, this isn't working. This isn't working. Yeah. And just because you're waiting for a perfect deal that will never show up,
thank you.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Okay, but let's be patient, right? Like,
of course,
we haven't even been 15 games. Like, let's wait till that. And I think Rob said it in a few lives earlier. There are other teams that are kind of like stressing out too, that might actually say, okay, you know what, we're at the cusp. Maybe that Pascal might be someone that can push us over the edge, and we can get something more for him. I suggest, like, I still think he can somewhat. No, actually,
ideally, you don't trade him for Harris, but I guarantee you, if we got Harris instead of him right now, and Harris just buys in like he always does, we're better. Because one guy going through the motions,
I don't think Harris is better
doing this quasi silent protest against my role doesn't help. When one guy drags his feet or two guys drag their feet, the whole thing collapses.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. 4 guys can be playing their ass off. One guy doesn't, it's over. And this is the Blazers, by the way. We're about to face Milwaukee.
What if we beat Milwaukee? Will all of this be forgot?
Oh yeah, immediately.
I mean, Milwaukee got the brakes beat off them by Atlanta the other day. So I mean,
So Milwaukee's trash too. Can we trade him
no,
for
I'm just
Dame?
saying things happen. Things happen. I mean,
You think you think
That
they'll
was
give
our
us
old
Dame?
assistant coach there.
Y'all want to see my predictions? Hang on, I'll pull them up.
Yeah.
These were my predictions. Let's see how I'm doing so far. I'm doing terribly. The West is looking good though. I think I'm doing well with the West. So my predictions, my preseason, my season predictions are Nuggets at the top, Pelicans at the top. I don't have the standings in front of me right now, but last I checked, Nuggets and Pelicans are at the top, and I had Grizzlies missing, and people were like, "You're crazy," because they got JJ and they got this and they got that. But I'm like, "Yo, you're underrating Steven Adams." So Jazz are doing poorly, Spurs are doing poorly, Rockets are bottom, and then we just lost to the Blazers, who I have finishing as the second worst team in the NBA. I think I might even be. I was worried. I was like, maybe they'll be the worst team. I was kind of debating, and I have the Raptors finishing above the play-in, like an idiot. Let's not focus on the East. I'm doing well with the West. Maybe it's time for me to move to Oklahoma or something.
Half. We can do it, guys.
Yeah, I believe so. We can too. Look, I'm hesitant to say we must trade Siakam or we must trade so and so because I don't see what good it does, right, for us to pontificate about that. Because as fan bases become increased, look, I think I mentioned in a couple of lives ago that I read that Congo comment about him again, and I just this shit is
that's
just
wrong. That's wrong.
It's so there, and when he plays poorly. And when people start to say trade him, I don't know why, but those idiots always come out. And I don't want to be egging. I don't want to encourage them at all because I don't want to read that shit. So my only thing is I will say if you're a Raptor fan, then I'll leave you with 3 silver linings. And maybe how about this? In a spirit of positivity, let us all leave with one thing we're thankful for. Okay. I can already guess what all your one thing is going to be. Okay, perfect. Coach Mo is already okay.
Wait, he needs to shoot more.
You know what? This is good. I know we're at Happy Halloween, by the way. Happy Halloween to all of you. I know we're doing that, but we're just going to play Thanksgiving for a second. Can we go around and just say one thing you are thankful for as a Raptor fan right now? Let me know in the chat, comments, whatever. One thing you're thankful for.
I'm thankful that we have Scotty Barnes. I just love his game. And I'm really, really like loving watching Grady Dick play, like rebounding. I didn't know he had that in him. He was rebounding like a king out there. So
he gets his hands on everything. Wait till he gets stronger. Wait till he hits an NBA weight room. He's doing this so like as probably like 195 pounds soaking wet. He's gonna get a lot better. Daryl, are you thankful for anything?
No.
Great. Moving on.
Yeah, of course. I'm thankful that we have players on our team that we have
that are tall,
drafted and developed well, and have become better than anyone ever could have thought when they were drafted 27th overall.
Okay, that's good. Yep. SC, anything you're thankful for?
Yeah, Grady, Scotty, and then actually, despite all the thing, I still love Coach Darko. I think he brings a very positive energy and the necessary change to this entire organization. I feel bad. I feel bad for Darko though. Anyways.
Yeah.
I do too. Coach Mo, anything you're thankful for? I'm not pushing it on you. If you're not thankful for anything,
No, I am. I'm thankful for Grady Dick. And honestly, I think he should shoot more. Like he has, I don't know if he realizes, like he's so unselfish, but it's like, sometimes a semi-contested shot of his is actually a good shot on this team. I don't know when he'll realize that, but
yeah, no, I agree.
And I feel like Darko should have challenged some of those fouls because the refs were just giving him a bad whistle. Sometimes I'm just like, is the dude not allowed to exist on the court? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they were all fouls.
Does someone want to tell 11 or should I?
Oh, come on.
Snap.
Oh.
Okay. I am thankful for a lot of things, believe it or not. I'll tell you what I'm thankful for. Number one, I am thankful that that we have a general manager / president / duo and front office that I trust not to panic and do something completely ridiculous, hopefully. Because, yes, I should have my trust shattered in them because they did something completely ridiculous last year with the Jakob trade. But it's a calculated gamble that failed so far. Maybe it'll pay off later.
What calculator did they use?
Sorry, time out. Coach Mo, come on. Man.
Texas Instruments 1982 broken battery. Okay, I am thankful, obviously, for Scotty. Look, I've had a favorite player in the NBA for a very long time, Kevin Durant. You know, Kevin Durant's my favorite player. Vince was my favorite player at one point. Rashid was my favorite player. I think it's such a blessing to be able to be in the same city and be able to see my favorite player, to be able to cover my favorite player, to be able to talk to, you know, his trainer and stuff. I think it's a very blessed opportunity, and I'm very, very happy for it. And I hope that, you know, and I'm also thankful that we have Grady Dick, even though I was very upset at draft night initially, you know, put my head down like a moron and, you know, was like, oh, I had him 18th on my draft board and I have Jordan Hawkins 5th on my draft board. Jordan Hawkins might be great at some point, but I am so thrilled that this management decided to think outside the box and draft him. It's not even thinking outside the box. It's thinking outside my box. Like, I learned from Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster every day. Like, I learned that they see things that I don't see. I want to walk back on something that I said last week. I said that I was very, very upset, or at least confused, that they had not extended Gary Trent Jr., Precious Achiuwa, and Pascal Siakam 4 games into the season. This is looking like the fucking bet of the century.
It's looking like genius.
It is looking very genius, and it reminds me again that I am a person on the internet who talks about basketball, but I'm not Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster, and there's a reason why these guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars to make basketball decisions for this franchise, because they have firsthand knowledge of who these players are and what might make them look good and bad. And to the media out there, you know, okay, let me continue with my thankful streak. I am thankful for Christian Koloko. I hope he plays soon. I hope he plays again. And I am thankful that we have a front office that has openly and candidly addressed how bullshit last year was, that they didn't run away from it. They said it was bad basketball. Tillman Fertitta did not call the Rockets basketball last year bad basketball, and it was much worse. You know, the Raptors got the rap as being the selfish team in the NBA. They were by far not even close to the most selfish team in the NBA. There are plenty of teams out there. I think this fan base pushed the hand that it needed to be addressed. We pushed back, we clapped back, you know, we said this is happening, whatever, and they addressed it. Kudos to them. They addressed it. I'm glad that Masai Ujiri didn't enjoy watching last year. I hope he's not enjoying watching what is happening in the basketball court right now. I like the fact that Masai and Bobby actually played basketball. Do you know that? There are certain general managers and executives who didn't. And they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they think with numbers. So in a weird way, I'm very thankful that Daryl Morey is not my general manager. Right? Dig at Daryl Morey. Dig at Tillman Fertitta. Dig at my old James Dolan. Dig at Richard Petty, and every executive who has ever ruined basketball for one of us hoop enthusiasts. I hope that this team will figure it out. I am not panicking completely yet, but today was very disheartening. I hope that they have some serious conversations. I stick by the caption under this video that this team needs to have a players meeting. They need to hash out whatever's happening. They need to hash out whatever miscommunication's happening. Right. And if there's some hurt feelings, or if there's some, egos that are bruised, get over it. Get over it, because, there are certain players on this team that are playing so hard, and they deserve better. And there's a coach who is coaching his guts out to coach for his team, and he is not throwing his players under the bus, and he is defending them on the court, off the court, and he is, trying his best to come up with game plans, and they're not working, and he's having to answer for game plans not working. And if I was on that team, I would be embarrassed. I would be embarrassed that my coach has to answer for why I'm not boxing out. And his entire offensive philosophy and approach to game management and preparation is being questioned because I refuse to cut when I'm supposed to cut. Something that I've probably been doing since AAU. This is ridiculous. It needs to stop. I hope for a better effort, and maybe pride will kick in when you have a better opponent in front of you, because nobody in the world wants to get blown out by 40, 50. I don't care how dog shit
sorry you are as a human being. Nobody wants to get blown out by Milwaukee by 50 points. Maybe better competition will inspire better effort. Any final words? I'll leave it to anybody who wants final words.
Yeah.
Didn't Houston got blown out by Orlando with
Oh my
Fred
God.
on it?
Did I
Y'all saw that,
forget?
eh? Y'all saw that with Chris Wade?
I'm thankful Fred VanVleet is gone. Yes. Not being petty, not being salty. I'm just this might be worse with him. I might not be able to keep my face. Poker face. Do I have a poker face? I don't have a poker face. I'm just like Scotty. And just like, if I don't like you, man, it's on my face.
Yeah. What I'm not thankful for, though, is the Hawks are on a 2-game win streak, so I'm not thankful for that.
Jalen Johnson is blowing up.
Yeah, he's good.
Jalen Johnson's blowing up.
We may be losing a trade partner in real time.
Yeah,
but it's still early.
Can we trade for Fred VanVleet? Can we? Do you think the Houston Rockets would do? Okay, here's a real hypothetical for you. I want to stress test your patience for Fred VanVleet. Would you do Pascal Siakam for Fred VanVleet plus Jabari Smith? Be real. You would, wouldn't you? And you would wave.
Hold on, Kim. Sorry. If we get him, do we have the ability to send him down to the G League at this moment? I would do it.
Have you seen your point guard play? He would be I don't want to say it. He would be an upgrade. There's no way in hell he would ever run an offense like this, man.
Dennis
I'm watching
it on the court together. That scares the living shit out.
It's like the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
Dennis, I think honestly, Dennis Schroeder has been a massive issue. I'm trying to be lenient because in a weird way, he's learning a position that is very new to him as well at the NBA level. He's never been handed Kyle Lowry level usage and been told, here, go run 15 pick and rolls with players that you haven't technically played on a basketball game with and be efficient. I think he was much better today, by the way. He made 3 very interesting and very good passes. I think to Jakob Poeltl, there was behind the back.
So
I think it was much better today. So maybe that is a sign. Hopefully that is a sign of things to come. Dennis Schroeder is certainly not somebody who I think he has bought in. Okay. For the most part.
And he plays hard.
He's playing hard and he's bought into what is happening. I think it is certain other players on this team who are not buying in to what they are supposed to be doing when they don't immediately have a scoring opportunity. By the way, if you want an example of 0.5 offense, to anyone out there who might be curious what this is supposed to look like, go watch every single thing that Scotty has done for the last 2 years. That's a mic drop moment. He's been playing this way for 2 fucking years since he was a rookie. How many times do you see Scotty Barnes just hold the ball and survey, and then decide what to do? He's already on to the next play. How many touch passes does he have? I mean, this guy's not playing 0.5 offense. He's playing 0.2 offense. How many times how many times have I seen this guy not only pass to the next guy, but then direct the guy that he's passing to on what his next pass is supposed to be? This is quintessentially, man. He's been playing this way for 3 years. So look, they talked it over. They figured out how to best utilize Scotty. It's not going to work for the numbers of certain guys. I agree. There are certain guys, but I leave you all with a question. What would Fred VanVleet's numbers have looked like last year if he'd actually bought into the preseason philosophy of Scotty's going to run point, Pascal's going to run point, Fred's going to be off the ball? Do you remember Fred VanVleet agreeing to do that for the 2nd year in a row? Do you remember that? Him saying, yes, we'll see how it goes. And then he came out and he struggled and he forgot how to shoot a basketball. And then he went on JJ Redick's podcast and he explained how his numbers were dog shit because he doesn't know how to play like that, even though he's played like that literally his entire career.
Won the championship that way. Played Wichita State that way. He's played that way his whole life. He was that way in G League a little bit too. Bench mob, sure, he got a little bit more, pick and roll ball handling responsibilities. But next to Kyle and Gasol, you think he was like a major decision maker in the offense? He was a finisher in the offense. That's exactly what they asked him to do last year. But suddenly he forgot how to do it. He forgot how to do it because his numbers weren't going to be good enough for the contract he wanted. And so what did he do? They couldn't win. They put the ball in his hands, and suddenly he can shoot again. Deja vu.
Oh my God, he can shoot again. and oh my God, he knows how to dribble, and oh my God, he's not completely sorry. And now, okay, yeah, you're not doing what you wanted to do, but at least it's better than what you were doing before. So I guess you got to go with it. And oh my God, you won a few games, and oh, now let's give you Jakob Poeltl and give this core a real shot because Fred VanVleet's complaining that he doesn't have a proper screen partner, and you want to stop using Scotty like a center. And so you give him a screen partner, and what does he do? He stat pads his ass to a contract that makes you the laughing stock of the NBA. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
When you really think about what happened, that's exactly what happened. And someone tell me I'm lying. Everything I just said is fact. It's 100% fact. He agreed to it. It didn't work. But did he really agree to it? Because I'll tell you right now, if you and I play basketball and I want to make you look bad, I can make you look really bad. Right? You're looking at me. I'm looking at you. I start cutting. I see you're about to pass the ball. I stop cutting. You got turnover. You throw the ball to me in the post. I'm just not going to catch it. Turnover. Oh, you're coming off as you need me to screen for you. I'm going to set a screen for you, but it's going to be a sorry ass screen.
But aren't we all talking about the same thing here? Like tonight, this fight, we think we have our differences. I think we're talking the same thing here. Just talking about the same person that should
It's
have been
not
the
even
co-name.
one person, bro. I don't want to make this a witch hunt for one person. I'm saying look at what is happening on the basketball court and tell me who in their right mind is a professional basketball coach that would design an offense that looks like this. They're in the record books right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There are games they have played this year that are worse than any game they played all of last year. And I think I'm surprised they're not in the record books for last year because they were pretty bad last year. And there are I don't think they've played a single game this year that even, like if you take the average of this year and last year in terms of half court efficiency, it is like falling off a cliff. You really think that Fred VanVleet made that big a difference? It's not Fred VanVleet.
No.
They are reverse engineering a narrative, and I don't like it. And it's not right. And I would believe it, as I said before, I would believe it if the mistakes I was seeing were mistakes of newness. That happens in every offense. You know, when you got a guy gets traded to a new team, you see it every fucking time. When Rasheed got to Detroit, he didn't know exactly where to be, but he's a fucking professional basketball player, so he had some idea where to be. But, you know, Chauncey had to work it out. Sometimes, you know, he was trying to throw the ball to Rasheed, and because they hadn't played professional basketball very long, maybe they had a couple turnovers. But it's not like Rasheed wasn't trying to catch the fucking ball. And it wasn't like Rasheed forgot how to set a pick for Chauncey. You know what I mean? Like if it's Rasheed's job to box out for Ben Wallace, like he didn't forget how to box out. These are effort. This is effort. You don't get killed on the glass by this team unless it's effort. You have Jakob Poeltl. You are bigger than every single team that beat you on the glass. That is a fact. I know Joel Embiid is a really good rebounder, and he's a really big dude. But you have been consistently across the board longer and bigger than every single team who has beat you on the glass every night. And you have backups who are incredible rebounders in Boucher and Achua. There's no excuse. And you have a guy who's technically playing guard for you in Scotty Barnes, who is almost like, I'm pretty sure, almost leading your team in rebounds. He's clipped 10 rebounds twice. Like he's trying to do it. And you have Grady, who is another guard, who's an incredible rebounder. At least he's making an effort. This is effort. This is an effort thing. I hope they get it. This is a heart thing. They got to do a heart check. All right. Sorry, this live took a nosedive towards the negative. This was a tough loss. I hope for better against Milwaukee. I hope conversations happen. And I hope after Milwaukee, we're having they had some conversations. Or maybe someone gets traded tonight. We'll see.
No one's getting traded. One last question. What's going on with Otto Porter?
Oh, okay. I was going to say McDaniels.
McDaniels is a good question too. I don't know what's happening with
that guy. Was supposed to be a big help.
And he hasn't hit 3 yet.
He's supposed to be a big help.
I think I was encouraged by what I saw from him in preseason, and I refuse to believe that someone of that size cannot do that at any level, like against anybody. There's nothing anyone can do to stop someone that size who shoots.
Can I just say this? The leash Flynn is getting, you can't give that to McDaniels. I mean, McDaniels is getting like a quick hooks. And we need him because the bench
Didn't
is
he get 5
thin.
minutes today?
Huh?
Didn't he get 5 minutes today?
I mean, he's not playing great, but man, if you're not playing Otto, and
I mean, he got 5 minutes, okay, and Grady, who was getting 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. You know what I appreciate about Coach Darko, apart from the Flynn absurdity and confusion, but maybe Malachi is just killing it in practice, and we don't know about it, right? I'm not in practice. Are you in practice? I'm not in practice either.
Sure.
But what I appreciate about him is that he started out Grady really slow, and he gave him a chance, and as he played better and better, he continues to adjust his role. Today, he was the first guard off the bench. I think prior to, Grady was like third or fourth off the bench, maybe fifth
Rob,
off
you
the
know what
bench.
helps? You know what helps? Watching McDaniels and Flynn play. He's like, yeah, he can play. He ain't worse than them. That helps. The guys in front of you playing bad helps. In all reality, it helps.
Yeah, it helps. But
It helps.
But it's
if
like,
those guys were killing it,
my curiosity is
get
like
25 minutes. I guarantee you.
Like my curiosity is Jalen McDaniels is coming from Philly, right? I don't think Philly's offense was bad last year. Otto is coming from Otto hasn't played this year, and Thad hasn't played this year, and so I think maybe Darko needs to go outside of what he's been doing. And look, as much as people want to say that Thad and Otto may not be the most ideal fit because of size, position, fits, spacing, they 100% are professionals. Okay. And if you need to play the adults to show the kids who's in charge, play the adults. I will 100% support. Yeah, because there's no fucking way at this point in his career that Garrett Temple is about to show up his coach. Okay. And there's no way that Thad is going to do it or Otto is going to do it. These guys are not going to come in and start, fucking doing stupid shit. Just let them play. I would beg for it. Just let one time. I've been begging for it the whole year, by the way. Otto, Grady, Scotty. I've been begging for it. Some variation. Put those three players and fucking any two players on the court, because those two will do enough good to compensate even if the other two are not. And it's like, if you can get some, I just think what we need is for one. I think if I had a message to Darko Rajakovic, I would suggest to him, play 5 players for 5 minutes that will do this to the degree that you want them to. Just play 5 players for 5 minutes so that everyone on your team and everyone in the audience can get a glimpse of what you're trying to do. And now we can say, why is Precious Achiuwa not doing what Otto Porter was doing in that situation? Or why is Chris Boucher not cutting to the same spot as Grady Dick? It hasn't worked. And it feels like every time we're like down 5, 6, 7, we have to go into, Scotty takes over or Pascal takes over or Dennis takes over, or we hit an absurd number of threes in transition or something. And I just think we haven't seen it work yet. And people who are saying it doesn't work, I refuse. Yeah.
I mean, I always said to myself, if Thad's on the court, the house is burning. So we're getting there.
I would play him. I would play him.
Either we have serious injuries, because he's like last resort. Like, I know you guys are laughing, but seriously, if things are going well, Thad's not on the court.
You cannot be nice in this situation. I mean,
I agree with you.
Granted, I don't have the mental makakeup to be.
He's like, who was that guy in Miami that just retired? That
Udonis Haslem.
Yeah. He's like the Udonis Haslem. Like, these guys are like, they're like
he's
extra
a lot better than
assistant
Udonis
coaches.
Haslem, bro. He started for you last year.
Way
Udonis
better.
Haslem hasn't started in a decade. Okay, that's different. It's different. People.
But how do you know that? And I think, did you not do a video on
called Old Man Thad?
No. Sorry, I changed a little bit a topic on you a little bit. I apologize, but didn't you do a video? I think was about Jeff Doughton, and then you said you hate NBA politics, and I'm always wondering if it's some politics that they got to play Malachi Flynn because his agent's not happy, and who knows,
If
right?
Malachi's agent is not happy,
No, it's not agent. The agencies. It's not the agent or the player.
who's he with?
I don't know. I'm just
Is he
wondering.
with CIA? Does anyone know?
Maybe it's his dad. Maybe it's his dad up in, because that guy was.
They haven't cared in 3 years what Eric Flynn has to say. They're going to start suddenly caring now. No, this is not that. This is
Or are they
this is
trying to trade
merely.
him?
I don't even think it's that. I think. Look, I think maybe they have an irrational belief in their scouting department. I don't think Malachi was the problem today. I don't think he was the problem in the last game. So maybe he's turned a corner. Maybe we can get off of the Malachi sucks, brigade, because I shudder to think what Chris Boucher would have done with those minutes. I shudder. Chris Boucher started his Darko Rajakovic, tenure out beautifully. He came into the game in the third quarter, and it was amazing. And now it has not been great the last few games. There's been a lot of low IQ, questionable things, and this is kind of something you've come to expect with Chris Boucher. You never know, but you need to know, right? You need to know with Chris. You need to be sure of the guys you're playing, and if they're not playing to the best of, then unfortunately you have to do the Nick Nurse thing. But unlike Nick Nurse, hopefully you can communicate to them properly why they're not playing. If Jalen McDaniels is not playing, if he's not playing well, then just let him know we're going to play Thaddeus Young because you're killing us in the minutes you're playing, and you're not taking the shots that we want you to take, and you're definitely not hitting them. And maybe you don't want to destroy the guy's confidence, and maybe this is something Darko Rajakovic is going to have to learn too, because I think the adjustment going from assistant coach to head coach is very, very, very different, especially when you are actually not someone who came up in that system. We haven't seen this in a long time.
Question for you guys. Would you
Sure.
do you think Kyle Lowry would help in this situation?
1,000,000%.
Oh, million.
He's on his last year, 29 mil.
God.
I'm just saying.
But you would play him over who?
No. At least I don't know. Maybe could he be a backup?
He'd be our best.
And I'd start him.
I'd start him. He's better than
Right over
right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would.
I don't know. I
Right
haven't
now.
watched Miami. How much legs he's got left in the
No, just his mind, the way he thinks.
Bro, why is our entire chat talking about Dwight Howard, bro? Help me out.
Are they all bots?
I don't know. Like y'all, like really.
Take a chill pill on the Dwight Howard stuff, man. Oh man.
All right.
Anyways. No, you're good. I want to say one last thing, Rob. You're doing a good. You have a great channel. Congratulations on the viewership.
Thank you, man.
You made one comment earlier, and Vince made another comment. I want to comment on before I go. I agree with Vince. This is like the Rudy Gay, and I agree with Coach Mo right here. This is like a Rudy Gay situation all over again. Sometimes you gotta subtract to add. I don't know the term, but anyways,
Addition by subtraction.
Addition by subtraction. You might have to do it. The other thing is, you mentioned you're doing low light videos, and that could be turned into really negative. But I think if you just analyze the game, and it is what it is. Like
Yeah,
the film speaks for itself, right?
That's the thing. Like I heard last year that so I'm not gonna really comment how I know or whatever, but I heard that the film sessions the Raptors were doing were not talking about some of the stuff that I was talking about. And so it's one thing if I just keep saying like, oh, there was this play at the 11-minute mark where Fred missed the pass to Christian Koloko when he was going downhill, or and he turned it over making a pass, and it's just because he doesn't see the court. It's one thing to say it. It's very much a different thing to show it. It's also a different thing to show it to dramatic music, right? with the spotlight on him and a little red arrow showing what he should have done, and doing funny little graphics. And it took a lot of heat on that to myself, partially because I needed people to hate it. I needed people to hate it so the people who needed to see it could see it. And then I heard players saw it. And when the players saw it, suddenly there was a pause, because it was like, let me paint a picture for you. Let's say you are, let's say you are a hypothetical player A, right? And you play for the Los Angeles Clippers, right? And you have an issue with how Russell Westbrook's been playing. But Ty Lue loves Russell Westbrook, and he don't want to talk about Russell Westbrook. So you're in film session, and he's pointing out, Terrence Mann, you did this. Norman Powell, you're supposed to do this. He beats the Zubas. You're supposed to set a pick higher. You're supposed to hedge on this pick and roll. Okay. So every film session is like this. We're cleaning up 10 things, 12 things, 15 things. Film staff puts together, and we discuss it, and we use it as a learning tool. You're not trying to pick on any one guy, right? You're never going to be maybe in college. I don't know. I never played Division I basketball. I don't know what their college, sessions are like. Maybe they're a little bit more brutal and honest. But an NBA film session is never going to be a highlight package of just one guy fucking up. It's never going to be like that. That guy will fucking quit on you tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to pick out what plays they were not talking about and show them all in succession to dramatic music. So then I wanted it to be like, okay, so when Fred VanVleet is going to go up to, or sorry, in this case, Russell Westbrook is going to go up to Terrence Mann and be like, yo, bro, you fucking up here. And he'd be like, bro, I watched a fucking video online of you fucking up 8 minutes for the last bit. Why are we not talking about that? It makes it hard. So what I need to do for myself is make it so that it's not hateable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like you need to do it in a way that feels honest and objective. And, maybe that means I have to show Scotty's, pass to Jakob that went out of bounds as well. So that people can be like, hey, it's going to be fair across the board. It's going to be all the mistakes. It's not just going to be all Dennis and Malachi and Pascal and this guy. You're going to have to show OG's shot selection and decision making. You're going to have to show all of it. But I think through it, you put the 2 and 2 to you say 2 plus 2, but you never say 4. This is what I'm learning.
Yep.
You never say 4. You say 2 plus 2 and you allow people to figure it out for yourself. So if you show 10 absolutely disastrous, offensive sets, and every single offensive set has Russell Westbrook not boxing out, I think people would draw a conclusion for themselves what's happening, right?
Yeah.
I think that makes
Agreed.
sense. That's how the media does it, right?
It's
It's all those
interesting.
fucking subliminals. So let's do it that way.
But the interesting thing is, like now that I'm thinking about it, they changed the entire coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in new vets like Temple, right? Development coaches. Nurse isn't here.
Bro, what have you done to my man Raymond Abid? I don't even know who you are, Raymond Abid, but I'm so sorry this is happening to you, bro. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry what pain you must be experiencing for you to have to say this shit.
You
You know
can't.
what? I forgot to say one thing in my thankfuls. I'm so thankful Nick Nurse is not here. Listening to him the other day address the media here and just, chewing his gum like a fucking giraffe and just like, nice to see you, yo. Like, fuck you, man. Like, now you wearing a Philly hat, but you wearing an NN hat. Yo, I defended this guy like to no end last year. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't like what
No.
he did because I saw what he was doing and
Free
I didn't
Darko.
appreciate it.
Free Darko.
Nah. Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I said all I said prior to Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
The elephant is still Pascal. You changed everything, but he's still here.
You cannot change culture overnight. It takes work. You
I'm
can't
just
just you
saying.
can't just say kumbaya and you can't just say, oh well, good vibes and oh we're vibing with Scotty and
Yeah.
Brady doing TikToks or whatever. You can't just say it's all water under the bridge. You still have guys who want contracts. You still have Fred VanVleet who came into your organization and did this. Everyone saw him do it. Everyone saw him do it. The model is clear. Yo, if I'm a young player in this locker room, I just watched a guy hijack his fucking offense, probably cost us 5 wins last year, and get rewarded by this trash ass organization, the Houston Rockets, to the tune of 123 million, 143 million. I've lost count.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
He got paid more
this
than
works.
Kyrie.
It works. It works. You want to hijack the offense. You want to go outside the offense. You want to not do things for your teammates to help them out. You want to kind of like reverse engineer your numbers and you want to like it worked.
There is only one Tillman Fertitta. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I'm like, how many organizations are going to reward that?
Or maybe James Dolan. There's another. Anyways.
Raymond Abid saying, are we going to act like Nick Nurse isn't a better coach than Darko? Laugh out loud. You guys know ball. Let's put it this way, man. When you go back and you study Darko's G League stints and you study his work in Europe and you read his paper on basketball and you go and do some research into who this guy's been, and then you listen to the players who swear by who he is and what he's done for them, from Devin Booker to Desmond Bain to Jaren Jackson to John Morant, to every player who has spoken out in glowing fashion about him, to our own point guard Dennis Schroeder, I think you might have a slight bit more humility. I actually regret saying that I feel bad for you Now I feel bad for you for a completely different reason. You don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. Maybe I don't know what I don't know either, but I think it's pretty ridiculous to make an assumption about a coach after 4 games when his team has not done what he's asking them to do even once, and he's just patiently every day in the media saying, "Oh, we got to be better. It's a process, whatever." Like it's the same party line. I mean, he's not going to do what Nick Nurse did last year and throw Chris Boucher or Gary Trent under the bus.
Yeah.
If he fits us, he fits us. If he doesn't, how's that going to help anything? That's exactly what created the toxic culture in the first place. You deal with the shit in house. But I hope that Darko deals with what he's watching on film. And if he doesn't know God, if.
But don't you think when he's doing film sessions, he's on eggshells around the Pascal stuff?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think that? Because I truly believe he feels.
You understand the role of a head coach in the NBA is a political role. You do know that, right?
Okay, you think he's on eggshells calling out Scotty in film session?
No.
See, that's what I mean.
No.
You think he's on eggshells calling out Dennis in film session?
I hope not.
I don't think he's not with Jakob. I know he's not with Jakob.
Okay, well, I don't like.
This is what I'm saying.
But I mean, okay. Here's the thing: short-sighted, everyone should be equal. Long-sighted, everyone's not equal. Okay. Short-sighted, everyone should get it on the first try. Long-sighted, everyone doesn't get it on the first try, right? But the reason you brought this guy in is to unite your locker room, not do the same thing the other guy did, right? Like be honest with yourself. If you have a kid, you're saying, like you coach youth level. If you have a kid who's not buying in because he's got it in his head that he had a different role with a different team, right, last year, and he's come onto your team and he's just like, yo, Coach Mo, I was an isolation scorer for my last team. I was averaging 22 points per game. And you're just like, yo, bro, you're not going to be that for us. We already got a system. You're going to have to fit into it or you're going to fit out of it, right? You fit in or fit out. That's it. A lot of players have struggled to adjust their role. I don't think people are giving Pascal Siakam full credit for how difficult it is. Chris Bosh took a while. Kevin Love took a while. Difference is, those guys were doing it for LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. This guy's doing it for Scotty Barnes, a player that he probably thinks he's much better than. This is going to take a while, right?
So you hit it right on the nail, the pecking order, right? If you keep, and I'm with you, actually, you guys are talking the same thing. If you keep Pascal here, he's never think he's below Scotty. And that's the problem. That's the pecking order hasn't been established, and you're not helping Darko.
Well, do you know a single player All NBA? Like let me ask you a question. Let's say we traded Scotty. God, I don't want to say it out of my mouth. Let's say Scotty Barnes wound up on the Knicks tomorrow. Do you think Julius Randle is being like, oh, you're former rookie of the year. Here, take the offense. You think Julius Randle's going to give it to him?
Oh, for sure, no.
No, he's not. Do you think that if he ended up in LA for the Clippers, do you think Kawhi and PG are telling him, bro, you third fiddle, sit back, hang back, right? They would do that to him, right? They would little brother him. They would try to sun him. Maybe he'd be fourth fiddle. Maybe he would be exactly where he was last year. Wouldn't matter how good he is. What about in Minnesota? Let's say Scotty was just for a day. He was in Minnesota. Would he be first option over Ant? Would he be first option over? No, because they would never allow that to happen. What if Scotty went to a team where he was, in fact, definitely the first best player, which is Charlotte Hornets? Because I think he's better than LaMelo for sure. But do you think LaMelo is just handing him the basketball, or LaMelo is going to be like, yo, bro, you remember Miles Bridges? Be my Miles Bridges. That's my point. These guys, they all have it in their head that they're the guy. Okay, and if you trade right now for Kevin Durant, I guarantee you that Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam will both be like, okay, you're the guy. But this whole you're the guy, he's the guy shit, that's all North American basketball. Europe, I promise you, we don't give a fuck about it. That's why Giannis is so easily able to concede to Dame Lillard. Right. He's the guy. Do you know why? And some people are calling him soft for it. But you know what? Nikola Jokic would do the exact same thing for Jamal Murray. I promise you, these guys don't care. They just want to win.
See, we're talking the same thing. Nikola Jokic, because he's on that pecking order, he plays unselfish basketball. He's going to, people listen, right? When you have a guy who he may try to buy in, but that's not him. And it's a very awkward. I mean, I hear all the interviews, and it's very awkward with Pascal. I'm sorry. Like he's like, oh, yeah, go ahead.
when Kawhi was here and he had some isolation and he was our leading scorer, did it ever seem as forced as when Pascal does his thing?
No.
Of course not. But
That's
I
what
mean,
I mean.
it
The
wasn't.
talent's even not the same, man.
There's a big gap in efficiency. There's a big gap
Rob,
in pedigree. Yeah.
But let's say Pascal takes 16 shots in a given game, and and Scotty takes 16 shots. They're not the same. They don't come in the same way.
You know, Kawhi. You think, and it's been commented before on TV, it's like he's in the gym by himself. He makes the same move, but he blows by people. It's not the fastest.
Can I just say one thing? I know that
You have to
this is a
force
little
feed
bit off
Pascal.
topic.
No one has to force feed Kawhi. He just gets he just gets it done.
He's efficient. Yeah.
It's
I think, I mean, Kawhi's not perfect. Okay.
No.
I get it.
I love the guy. He's great. He's the greatest player that's ever played.
Oh,
He's
by
the
far.
greatest player
By far.
who's ever put on a Raptor jersey
By far.
in the year that he put it on. Okay, 100%. Don't get me wrong. Not a perfect player. Made terrible reads all the time.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
I broke down
Sure.
his tape, I could make 20 minutes of Kawhi missing
But the
wide
efficiency
open
made up for
passes.
it. But the
But he's
efficiency
just
made
so
up.
good. He's so good. You don't fucking care.
Yes.
Do we care that he took a shot over Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and we celebrated as the greatest shot ever while Pascal Siakam was wide open?
No,
Do
because
we
without
care?
him, we
No.
get swept.
But the difference is Pascal Siakam takes the same shot. We would be complaining if Kawhi Leonard was left open, right? We'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? That's the difference. That's the difference. You know, every Jordan highlight that we've ever shown the kids is Jordan fucking launching over 3 defenders. Why do you think these kids are growing up emulating? They're emulating the wrong thing because they are not Jordan. They're not Kobe. They're not LeBron. They're not these guys. They have to learn how to fit in, not fit out. Now, look, they're trying to undo something that they did to themselves, which is they elevated Pascal Siakam to the level of star,
Yeah,
right?
agree.
And they have convinced him, and people around him have convinced him that he is this guy. And it's not like some guy who got convinced in the AAU level that he's a star, or in college that he's a star, and he comes into the NBA and has a hard time adjusting because he's just like, yo, bro, I was a 25, 30-point per game scorer in high school, college, whatever, and now you're asking me to fucking set picks for this other guy, and I'm not buying it. But you'd be like, yo, kid, humble up. This is the NBA, right? But you're not talking about somebody who is doing it in another league or a lower division. You were talking about someone who was doing it as recently as last year. Last year, at this time, if I'm not mistaken, Pascal Siakam was averaging 25, 9, and 8. Okay. He was in the chatter for MVP. 3 weeks from now, 1 year ago, prior to his injury against Dallas, Raptor fans were talking about him as a top 7 player in the NBA. Top 7 player in the NBA. This is not a joke. He was 4th in the MVP ladder in the whole league. That's 11 months. Where were you 11 months ago? Were you in a different, place in your life? I mean, time just flew like that, right? That's what I'm saying. So what a difficult thing are we asking him to do as well? I mean, this is entrapment, It's like putting a fucking, alcoholic, and saying, hey, can you hang out in this liquor store by yourself for like an hour? And then you come back and he's drunk. And you're like, oh, why didn't he control himself? It's entrapment. It's entrapment. You're putting someone in a situation where it's almost designed for them to fail. You're asking Pascal Siakam to do something that is very, very odd, given the evidence that we have so far, by the way. Because it's not like Scotty passed him last year.
Throw in the fact that's the contract year.
In a contract year. It's the same thing that I complained about last year with Gary. Gary was in a contract year. Fred's in a contract year. Fine. Gary was in a contract year, and Nick Nurse put him on the bench. And they called him out. That was the most important part. He called him out publicly and said, if he fits us, he fits us. He doesn't fit us, he doesn't fit us. And Gary was not quite the same after that. Let's be real. It was a little bit different. A little bit, his vibe changed. I heard some stories. I'm not privy to share them. But I can tell you that it did not sit well with him, what happened. That much I will tell you. So you have to learn from what happened last year if you're a front office, but also if you're this coaching staff. You cannot do what Nick Nurse did last year because we've already seen the results of that. So you cannot start pointing the finger at Pascal Siakam and Chris Boucher and Precious Achiuwa and every single person that you really do want to point a finger at right now. You have to keep inspiring good. You have to keep leading with good until, of course, you hit a critical mass in which you cannot wait anymore, and then you just have to cut your losses and trade them. Or you have the real heart-to-heart, which is what I really hope they do. I really hope that Darko Rajakovic and Pascal Siakam have enough of a relationship at this point where he can go up to him and say, if you trust me, I promise you your numbers will look exactly where they're supposed to look. Right?
What are they supposed to look like?
That's exactly the point. Because if he is, in his mind, and you remember last year what started my entire spiral down the rabbit hole of YouTube, which was Pascal Siakam saying he wants to be a top 5 player, and I lost my fucking mind because I just couldn't believe.
I know.
I almost went down a similar rabbit hole with Precious Achiuwa saying he wants to be like that he's a top 5 defender or something like that. It just when people overstate what they're doing or who they are, it bothers me because I feel like if that's what you think you are, and I know how far where your self-concept is from what you'll actually be asked to do on this team, then I don't believe that you'll be able to fit in. Like if Chris Boucher walked out tomorrow and said, I'm the best shooter since Larry Bird, or I'm a better shooter than Steph Curry. Well, now we have a very different expectation of what he's actually doing in the basketball court. Because if he's not passing up a triple teamed 3-pointer from 30 feet and he's taking it, well, then no wonder he's taking it because he thinks he's better than Steph Curry. See, the self-realization and knowing yourself is a very important part of basketball. Scotty knows himself, right? Scotty's not launching threes from the logo. He's not getting outside of himself too much. OG knows himself probably a little too well. You know, he doesn't get outside of himself, right? So Pascal Siakam now sees himself as a 25, 8, and 7 guy because you allowed him to put up those numbers. You allowed him to make All-NBA. If you're not going to continue to allow him to be that, and he doesn't feel like he's materially gotten worse, then it's a very tough pill to swallow. Because what you are actually asking him to swallow is potentially a loss of $80 to $90 million.
Yes.
I will also say this. Yes. I will also say this. It has never been a secret how close he is to DeMar DeRozan. Don't understate it. Don't ignore it. Because ask yourself the question that I think anyone should ask yourself. Okay, if your boss, and I literally saw it happen with my girlfriend the other month, where something happened to her friend. Maybe I shouldn't say this out loud. Okay, refresh. Some hypothetical person had something happen with their boss. So let's just say right now, I work for a company and I have a friend who also works for the same company. And I hear through my friend that the boss chewed them out and was very cruel to them. Very cruel to them. Or maybe I hear from my friend that the boss promised them a raise in January. And they're like, I'm really disappointed. Steve, if my boss's name is Steve, I don't have a boss. I haven't had a boss in 15 years. But let's say my boss's name is Steve. He promised me a raise. He didn't give me a raise. Well, my interaction with Steve, the next time Steve tells me he's going to give me a raise, it's not clear. I don't trust you because you promised this other guy you're going to give him a raise and you didn't give him a raise either. So if this whole, DeMar thing, not to be all super conspiratorial, but I think this is pretty logically laid out. If Pascal Siakam and DeMar DeRozan are very close, and Pascal Siakam has spoken many, many times about, the business of the NBA and how, it could happen to anybody or whatever. And he's already expressed that he's got major concerns. He won't sign a contract with anybody else. Doesn't want to be anywhere else. Wants to be in Toronto. Put that fucking out through his agent the minute the Atlanta trade. I think you really need to look at establishing your trust between Masai Ujiri and Pascal Siakam, because I believe that Darko Rajakovic is just catching strays. I don't think this has anything to do with him.
Yeah, but someone in the chat said, I think it was Derek K was like, why would Pascal trust Darko? They have different goals.
That's fair.
And that's true.
Fair. That's fair.
The same could be said with Masai. Masai's goal is not to give Pascal as much money as possible. His goal is to make the Toronto Raptors the best team they possibly can be. Pascal's goal is to make as much money as humanly possible playing basketball. They're still not the same goal.
Look at this comment by James. I don't know if this is meant to trigger me. Credit Barnes so far for the 4 games this season. He played 4 quarters a game. He only played for 1 quarter last season. See, this is what happens, James, when you get your basketball takes from William Liu or Josh Lewenberg or Michael Grange. You end up falling into the false psychology of...
Jack Armstrong sure has got those talking points. Boy, does he talk about it every game.
Exactly. And you have to call it out, bro. You have to
Oh
call it
my
out
God.
because it's not true.
He has
You
better
know,
conditioning. Like, dude, it's the first couple minutes. How is he has better conditioning? We're 2 minutes into the game. My
people
God,
because
he's
they
just a
will
parrot.
because they won't let it go. Every time they say he worked hard this summer, I know what they're doing. Like I'm not stupid, you know? Like I used to write about basketball. Like I know how to take subliminals and I know how to read subliminals. Like y'all better stop before I expose all your shit. Like this is so stupid that like even though he's playing so well, they just can't let it go. And even though Rob, don't BS again. What's BS?
Someone said the
Are you suggesting that Scotty Barnes only played one quarter last year? Are you saying that literally, or are you saying that like I'm not trying to be mean, but are you saying that literally, or are you saying that figuratively? Are you saying that like in
right here.
jest? Are you saying that kind of sarcastically? Are you saying it flippantly? Or do you legitimately believe that somebody who had his role on defense and offense, someone who had such a difficult matchup every single night, someone who's setting picks for his team, someone who's making the correct read, someone who's really, really just allowing himself to flow into the offense so the other guys can eat?
Rob,
Uh-huh.
someone talked about Maroon Prince said, Rob, you should really play Jakob's post-game presser. He says it plainly.
Oh, thank God. Okay, let's play it. You know what? One thing I forgot to mention in my things that I'm thankful for, even though I do not agree with the Jakob Poeltl trade and what we gave up for him, and I don't think I ever can or ever will. I am thankful to God that we have a person like this in the locker room because I know that Scotty can count on him, to be honest. And I know that if I ever want to know what is happening, that I can always go to a Jakob Poeltl post game because he does not lie. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate people who don't lie. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to download it. I'm going to play it and we're going to listen to it. It's called like the keys to defensive rebounding, and Jakob is foreign, so I enjoy his sense of humor a lot. He has a particular brand of sense of humor. Okay, I don't know how long.
A random note. Do you think there's anybody left in the Raptors community that is not on board with we got to trade Pascal? For whatever reason they may have, is there anyone that says to keep Pascal? Is that camp still alive?
Yes.
Yes.
It's very much. It's a very much alive camp, and yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pull you guys off for a second, and I'm gonna put. If you want to stick around, I can pull you back on, but I'm gonna pull up Jakob's presser. Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay, let us listen to Jakob Poeltl on the keys to defensive rebounding. Oh my God, I love it. Jakob Poeltl is my hero.
You weren't on the floor for all of those, but as far as like the defensive rebounding, it's a lot better when you're out there. What conversations do you have to try and like impart some of your wisdom and also like your technicalities and how to improve closing out those defensive possessions?
I mean, it's a lot of different things. I think mainly it comes down to, I mean, obviously like wanting the ball more. You gotta have all guys, 5 guys go for it. And especially in situations where we're in rotation, like somebody's helping somebody else, like, yeah, we gotta help each other on the glass as well. We gotta either go get it or maybe step in and help some of the guys. With a guy like Ayton, maybe have 2 on him, be more aggressive from all 5 positions to try and go get the boards.
Yeah, I mentioned I think that there could be a bit of a learning curve with new coaching staff, new everything, and where do you guys think you are on this curve, especially offensively in the half court?
I mean, it's a little bit hit and miss right now. I think we're still in the very beginning of that learning curve. Doesn't mean that we can't have great offensive possessions out there. Like I think you can see at times that it's flowing really well. It's about finding that consistency, though. We had a couple slumps tonight. Obviously, we didn't shoot the ball well, so that doesn't help. But yeah, even at in those times when we can't shoot the ball well, we can't seem to find the 3. We gotta find a way to either get in the paint or get a different rhythm shot that get our offense going again.
Darko sort of said that the passing's going on, but maybe you're not getting it to
going downhill until there's, it's later in the shot clock. Do you feel a sort of lack of crispness, I guess, is what he was saying?
I think sometimes we just got to be a little bit smarter about it. Like we're trying to apply the stuff that we do in practice into the game. Like we're trying to have this like drive, kick, swing offense, like play through the elbows, try and cuts, like different split screens, stuff like that. But at times we get in this mode where I don't think we're really doing it on purpose, but it seems like everybody's just trying to make something happen kind of almost randomly. And like we're not on the same page. And then we just dribble into a crowd, like try and kick out. The next guy's dribbling into a crowd. Like we're not really getting any advantages out of it. So we got to find a way to do it, like I said, with a little bit more. It might be timing. Like the decision making's got to be better to actually create advantages out of that offense.
How much does defensive lapses impact offensive transition and just the offense in general?
I mean, obviously, it's a big deal for us. Like we've always been a team that benefits a lot from getting stops on defense, getting those boards, and then getting out and running. It fuels our offense. It gets us going. Like it gets that mojo going, and then you just have a different like step to it on offense. Even in half-court offense, I think then play with a different type of confidence. So yeah, I think we actually played pretty good defense tonight, especially at the beginning of the game. We just weren't able to close out possessions, and then we made, as the game went along, we made more and more small mistakes that really cost us.
You talked about the split action. You're making a lot of the decisions there. You're seeing the coverage go under a lot, even on the screen and roll stuff. Do you think you guys are in a position where you just have to shoot because the team doesn't have a reputation over the past couple of years of shooting the ball well from three? The personnel doesn't have that reputation coming in. You just have to beat the reputation and force teams to change those coverages? Or how hard is it, as you talked about with that pack defense, to make like split action work?
Well, I think it's one of those things where if we can get rhythm open shots from three, obviously we want to take those. We want to get a high volume of those of shots because they're very effective shots. Like even if we might have a shooting slump, we know we can make those shots. And then we also got to find a way to, even when teams try to go under, to still punish that. Not settle, obviously, like just give into their coverage and start shooting step back threes and stuff like that to maybe change the angle of the screen, maybe slip out some. Like find a way to still impose our will on the offense and find a way to get cuts, get drives into the lane that gets our offense going.
Thanks, Jakob.
Oh, I am so thankful for this dude because he laid it out perfectly. Said everything I've been trying to say in 3 hours in 4 minutes. That is the difference between someone who is a super pro and someone who is not. I bring on SC just to say good night.
Good night,
Any
man.
thoughts on that?
No, I mean, he said it. Like, all
Plainly.
these comments right beside you, like, listen to a player that plays in the team. He said it very eloquently about stepping on toes, like you said, and he said exactly what the problems are.
I like that he said, I don't think we're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, but that
Have you
doesn't
ever heard anyone say that out loud though? Because I haven't.
I haven't either. He's very. I think he's an intelligent player and he's an intelligent person, and
I
he
think
knows
he's
the problem. Yeah.
remarkably smart. And I think he is just enough of a veteran. I think Thad is enough of a veteran and Otto is enough of a veteran. I have a feeling that a conversation is going to happen right after this game because thankfully the Portland Trailblazers are just bad enough that this loss is inexcusable.
Yeah.
Right?
Anyways.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, man.
Hey,
Have a good night.
cheers. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. Have a good night, y'all. Take care. Thank you. Humble brag. We hey, cat. Girlfriend's cat. Just trying to get into the washroom. Humble brag. Is that even a thing? We had more viewers tonight than the Raptors' own post-game show, which is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Let's pray. Let's hope that we can have more good things to celebrate. I think there's a lot of good things happening. I want to lean into something that Jonathan said, which is that this is a process. I'm paraphrasing. This is a process, the butterfly, the cocoon, the caterpillar. I agree. It is a process. And ultimately, every player who comes through this process on the other side will be stronger off for it. Hopefully, this is a bonding experience. Maybe this is a time to have some tough conversations through which people can bond, right? Rue saying 1, 2, 3 Cancun. It's funny. Nice. Coloco's return really could change everything, not gonna lie. One would hope, just getting some minutes out of somebody who doesn't disrupt the offense and who always moves. It's weird because he didn't play AAU basketball. He hasn't picked up a lot of the subconscious stupidity that is taught at the very young youth level of being a star. And actually, I think that's a really big reason for someone like Pascal Siakam's success too. He didn't learn all the terrible habits that a lot of kids learn. And so he was able to be taught the game a little bit later. People always address it in a vacuum. They always say, well, Pascal was always at a disadvantage, or Christian is always at a disadvantage for learning the game late. They're at one disadvantage, but they're at another perceived advantage. Number one, they both played soccer. Number two, they actually learned the game at a pro level. They learned it at prep schools with proper coaching. They didn't learn it from, their gym teacher in grade 2. It's different. Anyways, Grady better than Gary now. Honestly, if Gary Trent shows up and does even half of what he has what we expected of him to do, and maybe this is a tough time for him as well, contract year, coming off the bench, maybe he wasn't expecting it. There was a lot of secrecy coming into this season about who was going to start. They didn't commit to Dennis is going to be our starting point guard for quite a while. Okay. So I don't know if that was something that's got him feeling some kind of way about it. There's a lot of in North America, there's a lot of ego about who starts and who doesn't come out, who comes off the bench. Maybe he feels some sort of way about it. I'm not going to sit here and psychoanalyze a player I've never met, but he's struggling. And if I'm Darko Rajakovic next game, I would probably start Gary Trent. I would start Gary Trent over Dennis Schroeder. That would be my one adjustment, just to show that I am willing to put someone that is my, confidant and someone who came here for me, whatever. It might backfire completely because your point of attack defense that's been really good falls apart because Gary Trent is gambling and Dennis Schroeder has been far more fundamentally solid as a defender. Or it could just absolutely work because Gary Trent Jr., when he started the game the other day, looked very decent. Tailed off, had a terrible string of plays. I'm still going to do the film breakdown. Now I got to add this game, which is a comedy of errors and nightmare to break down. But hopefully between the 4 games, there's enough trends. And maybe I should just focus on box outs because that's what's been sticking out to me a lot. How can a team this big allow other teams to out-rebound them so often? Anyways, all right, have a good one. Please make sure to hit like on the stream. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us. I think at our peak, we were at 450 people in here. It's very cool. Thank you.